You've been told to hustle, to grind, to stay busy. That rest is for the weak, and silence is a waste of time. But deep down, your soul knows better. Because even when you check all the boxes, work hard, stay productive, keep going, why do you still feel tired? Why do you feel disconnected, overwhelmed, like something inside you is drifting further away? The truth is, we weren't made to live in constant noise. We weren't designed to run like machines. You are a soul, not a schedule. Real peace doesn't come from finishing everything. It comes from coming home to yourself. And that's what this is. Not just another meditation, not just background music. This is 3+ hours of soul-level stillness, of spiritual mindfulness that guides you gently back to your center, back to that deep, steady place within you that the world can't shake. You'll learn how to breathe with intention, how to rest like it's sacred, how to listen to your heart, your spirit, and the quiet voice within you that's been drowned out by the noise. This is for the part of you that's exhausted but doesn't know why. The part of you that craves something real, something deeper than a to-do list, something that feels like truth. As you listen, something inside you will begin to shift. Your nervous system will slow down, your chest will feel lighter, your mind will stop racing. And when the sun rises tomorrow, you won't just feel rested, you'll feel reborn. This isn't just rest, this is restoration. Are you ready? Let's begin. What if peace has always been right here, hiding in the one place we rarely pay attention to, the space between your breaths? Not the breath itself, but the quiet space just before the inhale begins and just after the exhale ends. That subtle pause, that silent gap. It holds something we've forgotten, something ancient, something sacred. It's not loud, it doesn't shout, but it's there, waiting, holding a depth we rarely enter because we're too busy reaching for the next moment, the next thought, the next task. But when you finally sit still enough to feel it, not think about it, but feel it, you'll know. You'll know this is where your spirit has been calling you to return, not somewhere far, not something new, just here, in the stillness beyond breath. Most people never notice that space. We breathe thousands of times a day, and yet the most profound part of the breath, the stillness between, goes untouched. But once you start becoming aware of that subtle pause, everything begins to change. That space isn't empty, it's full of potential, full of presence. It's the doorway between doing and being, between the world and the soul. When you bring your awareness into that stillness, it feels like stepping outside of time. You are no longer trapped in the past or reaching toward the future. There's no noise, no pressure, no identity to uphold, just awareness, just being. This is where true rest begins. Not sleep, not escape, but real rest. Rest that reaches your nervous system, your thoughts, your spirit. Rest that says you don't have to carry it all right now. And in that stillness, you'll realize you never did. This pause is not just a breathless second. It's a reset button for your entire being. And the more you enter it, the easier it becomes to return. You begin to find it in moments of stress, in conversations, in chaos. You start to carry it with you, like a secret peace no one can take. But to truly experience it, you must begin by listening, not with your ears, but with your attention. Feel the end of an exhale. Feel how the breath stops on its own. Don't force it. Just wait. There's a stillness there, like the world is holding its breath with you. Stay with it. Let it wash over you. The longer you rest in that space, the more your mind softens. Thoughts begin to slow, not because you're trying to stop them, but because your awareness has shifted deeper than thought. You begin to witness the mind instead of being trapped inside it. That shift changes everything. It's in this space where clarity is born. Answers you've been searching for in books, in people, in distractions, they rise up in the quiet. Not as loud revelations, but as soft knowing. You begin to remember things your heart always knew, but your mind forgot. That you are not broken, that you are already enough. That peace isn't something to earn, it's something you allow. In the stillness between breaths, the body starts to let go of tension without being asked. The shoulders drop, the jaw loosens, the chest opens, because in stillness, the body no longer feels threatened. It doesn't need to guard, it doesn't need to fight. It begins to trust. That's when healing begins. Not just physical healing, but spiritual realignment. The kind of healing where the soul exhales and says, finally. You may even begin to notice subtle sensations, pulses, warmth, tingling. These are signs that your energy is beginning to recalibrate. Your nervous system is learning a new rhythm, one that doesn't run on adrenaline, but on awareness. And the more you return to this space, the more natural it feels. You no longer have to think your way into peace. You just breathe, and there it is. You no longer have to escape your life to find rest. You just close your eyes, feel that pause, and everything slows down. This isn't about perfect meditation or sitting still for hours. It's about small moments of sacred return. While washing dishes, while walking, while speaking, you become aware of that breath, and suddenly life becomes softer. The noise fades. You see more clearly. And something else happens too. You begin to feel safe. Not just physically safe, but spiritually grounded. The kind of safety that lets you soften your grip on control. The kind that says you don't need to figure everything out right now. That it's okay to not have the answers. That life is still unfolding exactly as it should. This stillness reminds you that peace isn't about perfect conditions. It's about your inner relationship with the present moment. That even when things feel chaotic outside, you can still find calm inside. Because stillness isn't passive, it's powerful. It anchors you. As this becomes a practice, your relationship with yourself starts to shift. You stop seeing your thoughts as who you are. You stop believing every emotion that rises. You learn to observe without judging, to feel without drowning. And you begin to trust your inner wisdom again. You'll notice how often the mind wants to pull you out of that space. It wants to rush, to solve, to narrate. But you don't have to follow it. You can return, gently, without force, over and over again. And here's the truth most people miss. The power is not in the breath. It's in the space that holds it. The breath is a wave. The stillness is the ocean. And when you rest in that ocean, you are not your thoughts. You are not your past. You are not your future. You are the presence beneath it all. With time, this stillness becomes your refuge. Not something you visit occasionally, but something you live from. Your reactions become slower. Your responses more intentional. You listen differently. You speak with more care. You walk with more presence. Life becomes less about getting somewhere and more about being here. This sacred pause doesn't solve your problems, but it changes how you hold them. It gives you perspective. It gives you space. And often, that's all you really need. When life feels heavy, the instinct is to run, to distract, to numb, to overthink. But in this practice, you do the opposite. You turn inward. You meet the discomfort with presence. And in doing so, you begin to transform your suffering, not by avoiding it, but by giving it space to breathe. And as you hold that space, something beautiful happens. Your inner resistance softens, your nervous system uncoils, and slowly the pain shifts. Not because it disappeared, but because you no longer fear it. You no longer cling to it. You've given it room to rise, to be seen, and to pass. This is the quiet power of spiritual mindfulness. The ability to sit with yourself completely, without fixing, without escaping, just being with whatever is there, with kindness, with openness. And you'll find that the stillness between breaths teaches more than any book. It teaches surrender without defeat, presence without pressure, and peace without condition. This kind of awareness can't be forced. It must be allowed. That's why we begin with the breath, because the breath is always honest. It shows you where you hold, where you avoid, where you fear, and then it invites you to soften. When you bring your awareness to the space between breaths, you're not trying to control anything. You're practicing trust. Trust in the moment. Trust in your body. Trust in life. And little by little, that trust grows. You stop needing to control every outcome. You stop fearing uncertainty because you've touched something deeper than fear, something steady, unshaken. And from that steadiness, you begin to live differently. Not slower, but more consciously. Not quieter, but more aligned. And that's when life starts to feel less like a race and more like a sacred rhythm. Even in difficult moments, you'll feel it, that thread of stillness running through your awareness. And it will remind you, you are not lost. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are simply being asked to return to the moment, to your breath, to that sacred space between, where peace waits patiently, where rest begins again, where your spirit remembers who it is, and you don't have to earn it. You just have to notice it and allow yourself to stay. So next time life feels like too much, you don't have to run. You already know the way back. It begins right here, in the stillness that was always yours. Even in stillness, there's something moving, quietly, rhythmically, with precision. Beneath the breath, beneath your thoughts, beneath the surface of everything you see, there's a deeper structure guiding it all. You may not always feel it, but it's there, like an ancient design echoing through every part of your body and spirit. Once you begin to notice it, everything shifts. That hum beneath existence, that symmetry in nature, those patterns repeating in leaves, shells, galaxies, and even in your cells, they aren't random. They are the language of creation. And when you start to align with that language, your energy begins to settle into something truer, something ancient, something deeply real. After you've touched stillness, the next step is not to just rest in silence, but to understand the design that flows through that silence. Sacred geometry is that design. It is not decoration. It is not mysticism for the sake of mystery. It is structure. It is order. It is universal intelligence made visible. And most importantly, it's a spiritual mirror. When you meditate with it, not just look at it, but really open yourself to it, you begin to recognize that same order within yourself, not imposed from outside, but already written into who you are. Sacred geometry shows up in every corner of nature. Snowflakes, spider webs, pine cones, the spiral of your DNA, even the shape of the human ear. These are not accidents. They are patterns that repeat across life, echoing a unity that exists far beyond what our eyes normally perceive. When you sit with these forms, when you study them with presence and curiosity, they start to activate something in you, not through effort, but through recognition, like your soul finally remembering a language it forgot it knew. One of the most powerful ways to work with sacred geometry is through visualization. But this isn't about imagining something. It's about connecting your awareness to something that already exists. Start with the flower of life, an ancient pattern made of overlapping circles. Every point connects with purpose. Every curve supports the next. There's a reason this symbol has shown up in temples, scrolls, and sacred texts across continents and centuries. It speaks to something beyond culture or religion. It speaks to wholeness. As you visualize the flower of life, allow your awareness to rest in the spaces where the circles meet. Feel the harmony in that structure. Let it draw you in, not through analysis, but through still observation. When you breathe with it, let your breath follow the flow of the curves. You'll notice your thoughts begin to slow without trying. Your heartbeat may settle. Your inner tension may ease. Because you're not just watching geometry. You're syncing with the frequency of creation itself. This alignment affects your energetic body in real ways. Each sacred shape carries a vibration. That vibration subtly influences the way your own energy organizes. When your thoughts feel scattered, when your emotions feel unstable, your energy field becomes disordered, jagged, chaotic, out of sync. But when you connect to geometric forms, especially those grounded in nature's blueprint, your system begins to restructure. Like water taking the shape of the container it's poured into, your energy starts to harmonize with the design. And the effects aren't just temporary. When practiced regularly, meditation with sacred geometry begins to recalibrate your awareness. You start to see life differently. Patterns you missed before become obvious. You may notice synchronicities more clearly. You might feel more grounded during emotional storms. Not because life has changed, but because you've found a structure within yourself that holds you steady. Another form that holds deep power is the spiral, seen in everything from galaxies to fingerprints. The spiral represents growth, evolution, and the journey inward and outward. Meditating with the spiral is not about tracing its lines with your eyes, but feeling its motion in your being. Start at the outer edge with your awareness and gently follow inward. Let it guide you to the center. As you do, you're not just following a shape, you're being guided into the center of your own consciousness, that place where ego begins to dissolve and presence becomes whole. What's powerful about these symbols is that they don't require belief. They don't rely on doctrine. They simply are. And they meet you exactly where you are. You can work with them regardless of your background or experience. All they ask is your attention, your willingness to sit and listen with more than your ears. The Sri Yantra, for example, is a sacred geometric diagram from the yogic tradition. It is composed of interlocking triangles that represent the union of the divine masculine and feminine. But even without knowing its symbolic meaning, if you meditate with it, something happens. Your mind quiets. Your awareness sharpens. The balance between effort and surrender becomes more clear. That's because the energy of the form does its work, whether or not the mind understands how. And that's the deeper lesson here. Sacred geometry teaches you to feel beyond logic, to recognize that alignment is not always something you figure out. Sometimes it's something you tune into. These forms don't need to be solved. They need to be experienced. And that experience is different every time, because you are different every time you meet them. Working with sacred geometry can also deepen your relationship with your physical body. The body, after all, is geometry. Your bones, your joints, your heartbeat, your breath, they all move in patterned rhythm. When you meditate on a geometric form while breathing slowly, you're not just relaxing. You're syncing your body's systems with a greater pattern. Your brain waves shift. Your heart coherence improves. Your energetic field expands. And the result is a felt sense of unity. Unity with yourself. Unity with life. This is not spiritual theory. This is felt reality. And the more you practice, the more accessible it becomes. You may find it helpful to draw these shapes yourself, not for perfection, but for presence. Tracing the forms with your own hand builds a deeper connection. Your focus becomes a ritual, a prayer in motion. You may also notice that certain forms feel more resonant during different emotional states. The flower of life might bring peace during confusion. The spiral may open space during emotional tension. The Merkaba, a star tetrahedron, can bring grounding when you feel unsteady. These aren't rules, they are invitations to explore, to trust your own experience. Because that's what sacred geometry ultimately offers, an experience of self beyond surface, beyond labels, beyond emotion. It gives you a felt sense of what it means to belong to something greater without losing yourself. It doesn't ask you to believe anything, it simply offers alignment. As you continue this work, you may find your intuition sharpening. You may sense the geometry of spaces more clearly, the angles of a room, the balance in a painting, the disharmony in crowded cities. Your senses become more refined. You begin to notice energy not just in people, but in spaces, in choices, in thoughts. And this awareness gives you more power, not the power to control, but the power to align, to choose the shapes you surround yourself with, the rhythms you live by. Over time, this changes how you move through life. You begin to design your life with more consciousness, the way you arrange your space, the way you organize your time, the way you hold your posture. It all becomes part of the practice. Sacred geometry isn't something you only meditate with. It's something you begin to live with. The architecture of your soul responds to structure, but not rigid control. It responds to resonance. When you fill your environment with these forms, drawings, objects, mandalas, you invite your mind to soften, your spirit to open, and your energy to return to its natural rhythm. You don't need to understand the math. You don't need to analyze the meanings. You only need to give yourself to the form and let it do its quiet work within you. These patterns are reminders. They say, you are not separate. You are not chaos. You are part of something vast and beautiful. That message alone is healing, because so much of our suffering comes from the illusion of separation. Sacred geometry reconnects us, not just to the world, but to the wisdom already encoded in our own being. Even your emotions follow patterns. Your healing unfolds in waves. Your growth spirals upward. Your insights return in cycles. Nothing in you is random. Nothing is broken. When you sit with sacred geometry, you are not fixing yourself. You are remembering yourself. You are letting your spirit be held by something older than language. And that remembrance doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's a soft settling, a quiet knowing, a breath that feels just a little easier, a moment of peace that arrives without warning. That's when you know you've entered alignment, not by force, but by resonance. Let your mindfulness expand beyond thoughts. Let it move through your eyes, your breath, your hands. Let it meet the forms that have carried truth for thousands of years. You don't need to reach for peace. You just need to recognize the pattern it's always been moving in. Then follow it, let it lead, and everything starts to feel whole again. When the mind quiets and the body aligns, there is still something deeper waiting to be touched. The frequency beneath thought, the vibration beneath form. Sacred geometry shows you the structure of the universe, but sound lets you feel its pulse. There's a reason your body responds to music without permission, a reason certain tones bring peace while others stir emotion. This isn't random, it's resonance. Your soul doesn't speak in words, it speaks in vibration. And when those vibrations fall out of harmony, everything can feel off, even if you can't explain why. Sound, when used with presence and care, is not entertainment. It's medicine. A tuning mechanism for your nervous system, your thoughts, your subtle body. And when used with intention, it becomes a powerful spiritual tool for returning home to your deepest self. This isn't just about listening to pleasant tones. It's about letting sound move through you, to shake loose what's stuck, to clear what's heavy, to open what's closed. The body itself is a resonant instrument. Every organ, every bone, every cell vibrates. Your heart has a rhythm. Your brain emits frequencies. Even silence carries its own vibration. And when your internal rhythm is disrupted by stress, trauma, anxiety, you begin to live out of sync. Your thoughts race. Your sleep suffers. Your body tenses without you knowing why. This is where vibrational sound becomes more than a concept. It becomes a way to reset your inner world. Start with awareness. Begin to notice how your body reacts to sound throughout the day. Not just music, but voices, machines, wind, silence. Which sounds make you tighten? Which ones make you soften? This is the doorway. Tuning into your sound environment is the first step to reclaiming energetic clarity. Most people are exposed to noise constantly, but rarely to sound that heals. The difference is in intention. Healing sound is created or chosen for the purpose of bringing harmony, not distraction. It's subtle, but your body knows the difference. Tuning forks are one of the most direct ways to apply vibrational sound. When struck, they emit pure tones at specific frequencies. These frequencies interact with your energy field, creating a resonance that the body responds to naturally. You don't have to do anything but listen and receive. When a tuning fork is placed near an area of the body or energy center, its vibration can help bring balance, like striking a note to remind your system how to sing in tune again. Different frequencies serve different purposes. Some are calming, others are activating. The key is to explore slowly and notice how each tone affects you. Start with a simple fork like 528 Hz, often called the frequency of love. Sit quietly, strike it gently, hold it near your chest, your head, your spine. Don't analyze, just observe. Over time, these sessions train your system to return to harmony faster. Your body starts to remember the feeling of balance and becomes more resilient under stress. Mantras are another powerful tool of vibrational alignment, but their power goes far beyond words or meaning. It's not just what you say, it's how it vibrates in your body. A mantra repeated aloud creates internal sound waves that stimulate the vagus nerve, regulate your breathing, and focus your mind. Even without spiritual belief, the act of repetition centers your awareness. It creates a rhythmic pattern that calms the chaos of thought. You don't have to use traditional mantras if they don't resonate with you. What matters is the vibration and the presence behind it. You can choose any word or phrase that carries meaning for you. The repetition becomes a vibrational anchor, a way to stay grounded when your emotions try to pull you away. Speak it slowly. Feel it in your chest. Let it fill your whole body, then rest in the silence that follows. That space after the sound is often where the deepest shifts happen. Solfeggio frequencies are another layer of sound work that offers precise vibrational pathways for recalibration. These are specific tones believed to have healing effects on the body and spirit. Frequencies like 396 Hz for releasing fear, 417 Hz for clearing negativity, 741 Hz for awakening intuition. Each frequency acts like a tuning pin, adjusting the subtle energy systems that often go ignored. Listening to these frequencies with headphones or in a quiet room allows the sound to penetrate deeply. This isn't passive listening, it's receiving. Let the tone fill the space. Let it fill your body. Stay with it. Over time, you begin to notice what each tone unlocks. Some might bring emotional release. Others may create a sense of clarity or stillness. Trust your experience. This is not a science to memorize. It's a feeling to develop. Each body responds differently. What resonates for one may feel off for another. That's not wrong. It's wisdom. Your body is teaching you how to listen again, not just with your ears, but with your whole system. You can combine these sound tools into a regular practice. Begin with a few minutes of breath awareness to settle your mind. Then introduce one element of sound, maybe a tuning fork, a mantra, or a solfeggio tone. Let it carry you, not toward a goal, but into deeper alignment. You may feel heat, tingling, emotion. You may feel nothing. Both are valid. Healing doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, and the shift happens beneath awareness. The physical benefits of sound work are well documented. Reduced heart rate, lower blood pressure, improved sleep, decreased anxiety. But the spiritual effects go deeper. A sense of presence that doesn't come from thinking. a feeling of being supported, held, understood, without words, as if something greater is tuning you from within. That's not fantasy, that's resonance. When your energy finds its tone again, the outer world no longer shakes you the same way. You're not just reacting, you're responding from a deeper center. And this work doesn't need to be long. A few minutes a day can start to shift your baseline state. The key is consistency and attention. Like tuning an instrument, it's not about dramatic change overnight. It's about small, consistent alignments that create stability. Over time, your system holds its tone more easily. You start to live from that place, not just visit it. Sound can also be used as a form of spiritual clearing. When energy feels stagnant, dense, or heavy, vibration can break up the blockages. Use a bell, a singing bowl, or a deep vocal tone. Let the sound move through your space. Let it cleanse the corners of your energy field. This can be especially helpful after emotional conversations, stressful days, or deep healing work. You're not just clearing emotion, you're resetting your vibrational field. As your sensitivity increases, you'll become more aware of how others' energy affects yours. You'll hear the dissonance in certain environments or voices. You'll feel when your own tone is off, and instead of spiraling, you'll have tools to come back. Back to your center, back to your harmony, back to your resonance. Sound teaches you that healing isn't always about doing more. Sometimes it's about receiving, surrendering, allowing. Letting the vibration work through you without resistance. Not needing to fix, but trusting that your system knows how to realign when given the right conditions. That trust deepens every time you return to sound. Every time you choose to pause, listen, feel, it becomes a ritual, a sacred returning, and eventually it becomes a way of life. You start to speak more consciously. You notice the vibration behind your words. You choose tones that soothe, that lift, that clarify. Your communication becomes medicine, not just for others, but for you. You begin to hear truth in someone's voice, pain in someone's silence, connection in someone's laughter. This awareness opens you. It softens judgment. It sharpens compassion. This is what soul resonance really means, not perfection, but coherence. Living in such a way that your inner and outer worlds begin to reflect each other, no longer fragmented, no longer forcing, just vibrating in truth, presence, and flow. There is a sound that is uniquely yours, a tone that, when expressed, brings your entire system into harmony. You may not have found it yet, but it's there, waiting under layers of noise, expectation, fear. Vibrational sound isn't about adding something new. It's about removing the static until what's real can be felt again. Let your practice be simple. Let it be honest. Whether it's a single tone, a whispered mantra, or the echo of a tuning fork, return to it. Let it anchor you when the world feels too loud. Let it recalibrate you when your thoughts feel too heavy. Let it remind you that you are not lost. You are not broken. You are just slightly out of tune. And sound knows how to bring you back. You are not here to carry noise. You are here to carry tone. A tone that brings peace, clarity, and presence to a world that desperately needs all three. Begin with breath. Add vibration. Stay with it. and your soul will begin to hum again, not for performance, not for show, but because resonance is who you were before the noise, before the fear, before the forgetting. And now you are starting to remember. Once sound has touched your nervous system, when resonance begins to settle into your spirit, something deeper starts to stir, something older. Not a new idea or fresh discovery, but a quiet pull from within. It's a call you may not hear with your ears, but you feel it. In your bones, in your blood, in your dreams. This is not memory. It's inheritance. And what rises is not just about you. It's about those who walked before you. Their stories, their choices, their pain and wisdom woven into your DNA like an ancient prayer. This is where ancestral mindfulness begins, not in the mind, but in the root of your being. Your life did not begin with your first breath. Your emotions didn't form from nothing. There is a line, a thread, a lineage running behind you. And the moment you become aware of it, the healing shifts. It stops being just yours and starts becoming collective. Mindfulness is often taught as an individual path, but true spiritual depth honors that you are also a continuation of others. You were shaped not just by experience, but by history, and buried in that history, sometimes lost, sometimes silenced, are keys that can help you heal what you thought was yours alone. Ancestral mindfulness is the practice of turning your awareness toward this spiritual inheritance, not to glorify or romanticize the past, but to meet it with honesty and presence. Your ancestors were human. They made mistakes. They suffered. They endured. Some left behind gifts. Some left behind pain. But all of it shaped the energy you carry today. And by consciously connecting to that lineage, you begin to release what isn't yours to carry and reclaim the strength that was always meant for you. You don't need to know names or family trees to begin. You begin by acknowledging that you are the result of many lives lived before yours. People who made choices so you could have choices. People who lost things so you could find yourself. Start by creating stillness, then set the intention to open the door. Simply say, I welcome the wisdom of those who came before me. Then listen, not with expectation, but with openness. Messages may come through dreams, sudden insights, body sensations, or subtle emotions. This is not imagination, it's connection. The body holds ancestral memory. Certain fears or emotional patterns you can't explain may not have begun with you. They may be echoes passed through generations, trauma that wasn't processed, grief that was hidden, survival strategies formed in harder times. These energies don't disappear, they are stored, often unconsciously. Ancestral mindfulness gives you a way to meet them without judgment, to feel what wants to be felt, to offer presence where silence used to live. This work requires honesty. Not everything in your lineage will be beautiful, some of it may hurt, but the point is not to judge the past, it's to bring light to what has been hidden. When you acknowledge the pain, you stop repeating it blindly. When you witness the strength, you begin to embody it with clarity. You are not here to carry everything. You are here to choose consciously what to carry forward. Ritual can support this process. Simple acts done with clear intention can open powerful doors. You might light a candle, and offer a moment of silence. You might write a letter to a past relative, even one you've never met. You might place your hands on the earth and speak gratitude for the ones who endured. These gestures are not about belief, they are about energy. They create a bridge, a soft, sacred space for connection to rise. Dream work becomes especially meaningful during ancestral mindfulness. The dream world is a thin place where time doesn't function the same. You may receive visitations, symbols, or experiences that carry a different weight than ordinary dreams. When this happens, pause, write them down, sit with them, feel what they awaken. Whether they are literal or symbolic doesn't matter. What matters is how they move you, how they open something deeper in your awareness. You may also begin to feel emotional shifts without clear cause. Sudden waves of grief or a tenderness you can't name. Don't push them away. These are often ancestral energies rising for release. Stay with them. Breathe through them. Offer compassion to what comes. Sometimes the simple act of feeling what an ancestor couldn't express in their lifetime brings profound healing to both of you. Energy moves where it is allowed. Movement can also help process ancestral patterns. Dance, even in its simplest form, becomes a way to embody memory. You might move in ways that feel ancient or instinctual. Let your body lead. Let it unwind what's buried in the tissue. The hips, the jaw, the spine. These are places where generational tension often hides. Movement allows it to leave gently through presence, not force. Ancestral mindfulness is not about staying stuck in the past. It's about healing what lingers unspoken so the future can be built with more clarity. It's about honoring that your story didn't start with you, but it can be transformed by you. You are the bridge between what was and what's to come. You have the power to rewrite patterns not only for yourself, but for those who come after. This is a sacred responsibility, not one of burden, but of reverence. When you shift a pattern within yourself, it echoes forward. Children, whether born to you or not, benefit from the clarity you embody. The energy of healing doesn't stop at the individual. It ripples outward, creating space for more wholeness in the collective field. You may find yourself drawn to cultural practices you never learned, or spiritual traditions your family never spoke about. Follow those threads. Sometimes what your ancestors lived was forgotten or denied, but energy remembers. And what calls you now may be your spirit guiding you back to a forgotten connection. Don't rush to claim things. Move with respect. Let these practices unfold slowly, with humility and presence. Storytelling becomes another powerful practice in ancestral work. Even if you don't know much about your lineage, sharing your own story, out loud or in writing, starts to awaken deeper layers of connection. Speak your truth. Let your voice carry what your ancestors might have swallowed. Give sound to what has been silent. In doing so, you give permission for others to speak too, for the old wounds to begin healing through shared presence. It's also important to balance the energy of this work. Connecting to the past can bring up heavy emotions, and if not grounded, it can become overwhelming. Build anchors into your practice. Spend time in nature after deep sessions. Touch the earth. Eat grounding food. Drink water with intention. Let your body know it is safe to release. Let your spirit know it is not alone. Boundaries are sacred here. You do not have to connect to every ancestor. Not all lineages are meant to be reclaimed. Trust your inner knowing. If something feels off, you are allowed to step back. Connection should feel respectful, not invasive. You can always set the tone. I welcome what is in alignment with love, growth, and truth. I release what does not serve. Your clarity protects your energy. Working with ancestral energy also deepens your sense of belonging. In a world that often feels isolating, there's comfort in knowing you are held in a lineage. That even if your living family feels disconnected, there is a spiritual family behind you, not perfect, but present. That presence can offer guidance when the way forward feels unclear. It may not always come as answers, but as steadiness, as strength, as a quiet voice that says, "Keep going, we're with you." Over time, you may find rituals that feel deeply personal to you. A song, a prayer, a place you visit. These become touchstones. They don't need to be explained to anyone. They are yours, carried in your own sacred rhythm. Let them evolve as you evolve. The connection is alive, and it will meet you where you are. Forgiveness may rise as part of this path. Some ancestors may have passed down pain through actions, beliefs, or silence. You are not here to excuse harm, but you are here to offer freedom, first to yourself, then to the lineage. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's releasing the contract that says you have to keep carrying their wound. It's allowing your own heart to be whole, even if theirs never was. Ancestral mindfulness, at its root, is love. Not sentimental love, but the deep, unwavering kind that sees all and stays. The kind that bears witness. The kind that says, "You are seen, you are felt, you are enough." It is a reminder that your existence is not a mistake. It is a continuation, a breath in a long line of breath, a heartbeat in a long rhythm of survival and grace. Let this practice be slow. Let it unfold without pressure. The healing may come in whispers, in symbols, in dreams, in ordinary moments that suddenly feel sacred. Trust that what you seek is already seeking you. The moment you open your heart to the lineage responds. You are not walking alone. And when you do this work with presence, with care, with reverence, you begin to feel something shift, not just inside you, but around you. The energy in your space lightens. Your relationships feel clearer. Your purpose sharpens, because the roots have been acknowledged, the ground has been tended, and the path forward now rests on something more whole. You are not just healing for yourself. You are healing across time. You are answering prayers whispered long before you were born. You are becoming the ancestor someone else will one day thank. And that, in itself, is sacred. As the presence of your ancestors settles into your awareness, something quiet begins to call from beneath all the voices and stories. Something older than lineage, yet deeply familiar. It's not loud, not urgent. It waits patiently, like a doorway slightly ajar. Not into another world, but into the one you've forgotten to look into. The darkness. Not the kind you run from, but the kind you return to. The kind that heals not by adding anything, but by stripping everything away. Night is not just absence of light. It holds a presence, all its own, a depth, a rhythm, a language that only reveals itself when everything else goes quiet. But in the modern world, night is filled with distraction, screens, noise, artificial brightness. We've filled the dark to avoid what it shows us. Yet, ancient traditions knew the power of darkness. They understood that when the eyes can no longer lead, another kind of vision awakens. A deeper listening begins, one that sees from the inside out. Meditating in darkness is not about deprivation, it's about restoration. It gives the mind permission to rest from stimulation, from roles, from expectation. When visual input stops, your awareness naturally turns inward. Thoughts slow, breath deepens, tension softens. In that stillness, the noise you've absorbed throughout the day begins to release. The nervous system drops out of alert mode. You're no longer watching the world. You're feeling your own presence. Practicing mindfulness in darkness trains your attention in a way nothing else can. It heightens your sensitivity, not in the sense of fragility, but in depth. Small shifts in your breath, subtle movements of energy, emotional waves that pass unnoticed in daylight, all become clear. Without sight dominating your focus, the other senses become more attuned. You hear more, you feel more. Not because anything changed, but because nothing is distracting you anymore. The dark does not ask you to perform. It does not judge your expression. It accepts you exactly as you are. This acceptance creates the perfect space for healing. Emotional release often rises in these moments, not as breakdown, but as a gentle unraveling. Parts of you that stayed hidden in the brightness begin to speak, not loudly, not with drama, just honestly. Here, you don't need to fix anything. You just need to be with what is, in the safety of shadow. Regular night practice builds your inner trust. The more time you spend in darkness with presence, the more your system learns it is safe not to know, safe not to see, safe to rest. This feeling of safety is the foundation of deep inner clarity. You stop reaching outward for validation. You stop chasing certainty. You begin to move from a quieter wisdom, a calm knowing that doesn't need explanation. The pineal gland, sometimes referred to as the seat of the soul, is activated in darkness. It regulates your circadian rhythm, produces melatonin, and is linked to intuition and spiritual vision. Ancient cultures understood that darkness helps awaken inner sight, not just metaphorically, but biologically. Extended time in mindful darkness has been shown to increase the brain's production of dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, a naturally occurring compound that induces non-ordinary states of awareness. You don't need substances to access deeper consciousness. You need stillness, you need darkness, and you need presence. Night practices also help you understand your fear of the unknown. Most people avoid the dark not because of what's in it, but because of what rises in them when there's nothing to distract. By leaning into that discomfort, by sitting with it instead of escaping, you build resilience. You learn that darkness is not the enemy. It's a teacher, a guide, a mirror. Start small. Turn off all lights. Unplug the noise. Sit in a space where you feel safe, even if it's your bedroom with the door closed. Close your eyes, even in the dark, to signal to your body that it's time to go deeper. Let your breath be your anchor. Notice how sound becomes richer, how your body starts to soften, how the dark begins to feel less like a void and more like a cradle. Let thoughts rise without chasing them. Let emotions move without naming them. Let silence be enough. Don't force stillness, receive it. Allow the dark to hold what you no longer need to carry. You're not trying to achieve insight. You're making space for insight to arrive, and when it does, it often comes not in words but in shifts, in a release of tightness, in a memory surfacing, in a sense of deep calm spreading through your chest. Spiritual night practice is not about isolation, it's about intimacy, with yourself, with your truth, with the source of your being. In darkness, there's nowhere to hide, but there's also no need to. You meet yourself without filters, without performance. You see what you've ignored, and instead of running, you stay, you breathe, you welcome what comes. Some traditions would sit in caves for days to encounter the dark fully. You don't need to do the same. A few minutes each night can begin to shift your entire relationship with your inner world. The consistency is more important than the length. Each time you return, the dark becomes softer, friendlier, sacred. You may begin to notice that after practicing in darkness, your intuition sharpens. Your dreams become clearer. Your daytime awareness holds more calm. That's because night work recalibrates your baseline. It clears the mental clutter. It returns you to a slower, wiser rhythm, one that is always there, just buried beneath the surface activity of modern life. Darkness also restores feminine energy, yin energy. The energy of receptivity, of rest, of deep inner listening. This isn't about gender, it's about balance. We live in a culture obsessed with doing, achieving, expressing. Darkness teaches you the power of being, waiting, absorbing. It reminds you that rest is not weakness, it's sacred fuel. The soul does not grow under pressure. It grows in stillness, in presence, in time. Let darkness become your ally. Let it teach you how to stop resisting what you don't understand. Let it show you the parts of yourself that shine, not despite the shadows, but because of them. There is a kind of strength that only comes when you are no longer afraid of your own depth. If emotions arise during these practices, honor them. If memories surface, thank them. You are not digging, you are making room. Trust that what shows up is ready to be seen, and trust that you have the inner stability to meet it. You might create a small ritual before your night meditations. Light a candle and blow it out before you begin, symbolizing your step into deeper vision. You might place your hands on your heart and speak a simple phrase like, "I am ready to receive." These small gestures anchor your mind and open your energy to the depth of what you're stepping into. You can also pair mindful darkness with sound from the previous practice. A low tone, a slow chant, even the sound of your own breath. The contrast of sound against silence sharpens presence. It helps you track what's rising inside. But remember, the real practice begins when the sound stops, when all that's left is you and the dark. That's where clarity grows. Over time, you may begin to crave this space, not because it's comfortable, but because it's honest. It doesn't entertain. It doesn't distract. It brings you home to the center of your being, and it reminds you that you don't need light to see clearly, you need presence. Darkness will show you your blind spots, not to shame you, but to free you. It will bring forward what's unresolved, not to overwhelm, but to complete. And it will hold you in your most tender moments, not with noise, but with silence. That silence is not empty, it's full of healing, full of wisdom, full of everything you've been too busy to hear. Trust the dark. Not blindly, not with naivety, but with the knowing that something in it understands you, that something in it recognizes your spirit, and that in giving yourself to it, night after night, you are not losing the light, you are remembering the source of it. The deeper your relationship with darkness, the more whole your light becomes. Not the kind of light that burns out from trying too hard, but the kind that glows quietly, steadily, from within. The kind of light that doesn't need attention, it just is, rooted, true, untouchable. Let the dark teach you to see without eyes, to hear without sound, to know without proof. Let it be your temple, your retreat, your teacher, and you'll find that what you feared most about the unknown was never the dark itself. It was your own power waiting there, asking you to come closer, not to conquer it, but to remember it was always yours. After spending time in mindful darkness, a new sensitivity begins to take shape, one that isn't rooted in sight or sound, but in presence itself. When everything external has quieted, what remains is an inner voice, steady and low. And now you're being invited to listen more deeply, not through hearing, but through silence. Not the silence around you, but the silence within. And the only way to truly hear it, to touch that depth with clarity, is to stop speaking altogether. The silence ritual is a sacred practice. It's not about restraint for the sake of self-discipline. It's not a test of endurance. It's about creating the space for truth to rise. Because words, even the helpful ones, can become noise. They fill the air with effort, explanation, identity. But silence removes all masks. It strips away every layer of performance. What's left is direct contact with your essence. No roles, no responses, just you, fully present, fully listening. A 24-hour vow of silence can feel intimidating at first, but once entered with intention, it becomes one of the most powerful doorways into the divine. This is not a silence of withdrawal or suppression. It's not about avoiding life. It's a silence of deep engagement. A still, watchful, grounded awareness that meets every moment without needing to comment or control it. The practice begins with preparation. Let those around you know you'll be observing a period of silence, not to create distance, but to honor something sacred within yourself. Set boundaries clearly, lovingly. Prepare your environment so you can move through the day with ease. Remove distractions, lower stimulation, and allow the space to carry your energy inward. Write a note or wear a token to signal your intention if needed. Silence begins not with the absence of speech, but with the quieting of intent to speak. The mind might still run, full of dialogue and response. That's okay. Let the mind chatter without acting on it. With each hour, the inner voice will grow softer and presence will take its place. This shift is subtle at first, but with patience, it becomes unmistakable. Pay attention to what rises in the space words use to fill. You may notice urges to explain yourself, to seek validation, to fill silence with reassurance or noise. Each one is an opportunity. Each one reveals where your attention has been tied to approval, understanding, or identity. Without words, you begin to witness your attachments, and in that witnessing, they begin to loosen. You'll notice how much energy is spent trying to be understood. When you step back from that, a surprising stillness arises. It doesn't need to be seen or proven, it simply is. You begin to feel the difference between who you are and the personality you've crafted through language. In this space, awareness becomes purer. It stops performing and begins witnessing. Daily tasks shift during this practice. Eating becomes more intimate. You taste more. Movement becomes more mindful. You move with intention. Without speaking, the mind doesn't rush ahead as easily. There's nowhere to get to, nothing to explain. Each action becomes complete in itself. This changes how you relate to your body. You move with greater care. You respond to subtle needs instead of reacting out of habit. As the hours pass, silence deepens from the outside in. You start to sense energy more than words. You notice the tone of a room, the weight of unspoken emotion, the hidden meaning in someone's eyes. Communication doesn't end, it transforms. You begin to speak with presence instead of noise. Your presence becomes your language. The way you sit, breathe, walk, all become expressions of stillness. Emotions often surface during this process, not because they weren't there before, but because silence gives them room. You may feel sadness, irritation, peace, joy. Let each one rise and pass without trying to define it. Without language, emotions move freely. They don't stick in the same way. You don't build stories around them, you just feel. And that direct experience heals what narrative often complicates. The longer you stay in silence, the more your nervous system responds. Cortisol levels drop, heart rate stabilizes, sleep improves. But more than anything, the mind starts to feel lighter. It doesn't stop completely, but it stops pulling so hard. You don't need to chase answers. You don't need to prove anything. The mind begins to trust the moment. The divine starts to feel closer, not because it arrives, but because the noise that blocked it is gone. You start to feel it in ordinary things. In the warmth of tea, in the movement of your breath, in the pause between thoughts. These are not mystical experiences you force. They are natural experiences you allow. One of the most profound shifts in a silence ritual is the softening of judgment. Without speaking, you stop labeling everything. Good, bad, right, wrong. These fade. You begin to meet life as it is, directly, without filter. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become deeply present. You see things clearly, without the lens of constant mental commentary. And this clarity opens a doorway to compassion. You stop needing people to be different in order for you to feel peace. You stop needing constant affirmation. You begin to accept, not with resignation, but with spaciousness. You have more room inside, more capacity to hold life without pushing it away. You also begin to notice how often you speak out of fear. Fear of silence, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being forgotten. Silence shows you that you are still here without words. You are still whole, still seen, if only by yourself and something greater. And in this realization, your confidence deepens. Not the kind built on opinion or performance, but the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't need an audience. The vow of silence is also a reset for your energetic boundaries. When you're not constantly giving your energy through words, it begins to collect. It strengthens. You become less drained by the outside world. You feel where your energy leaks, and you begin to repair. This is one reason many people emerge from silence feeling stronger, more balanced, more centered. At the end of the practice, breaking silence is a sacred moment. Not a rush back into noise, but a gentle re-entry. Speak slowly. Speak with awareness. Let your first words be chosen with care. What comes from silence carries weight. You'll feel the difference between noise and voice, between reaction and response. And you may find that even after the 24 hours are complete, part of you wants to stay in that space. That's because silence doesn't end. It lives within you. It becomes a layer beneath your daily life, a place you can return to in moments of stress, decision, confusion. It's not escape, it's grounding. This practice doesn't require a retreat center or perfect conditions. It requires only intention and commitment. Whether you are alone or surrounded by others, the vow still holds. It is not silence from life, but silence in life. And that's what makes it powerful. You're not running away. You're meeting everything more fully. Doing this regularly, even once a month, can recalibrate your entire system. It sharpens your intuition. It deepens your relationships. It clarifies your values. Not because you think more, but because you think less. You feel more. You perceive more. You act from deeper truth. And over time, silence teaches you how to speak differently, with more integrity, with less urgency, with more care. Your words start to carry the vibration of the silence they come from. They land softer, they connect deeper, they matter more, because now they rise from presence, not performance. The vow of silence is not about becoming smaller. It's about becoming more whole, not through expression, but through embodiment, through returning to the source of your own presence, through remembering that truth doesn't always speak, it listens. And when you learn to live from that listening, you begin to align with something far beyond language, something that has always known you, something that always speaks. When you are finally quiet enough to hear, when you've tasted the stillness of silence and let it wash away the surface noise, something shifts in the way you relate to everything. The world feels less distant. Sounds feel sharper. You begin to crave not more information, but more connection. And where that connection draws you next isn't found in words or walls. It's out there, waiting in the open, wild spaces, the trees, the wind, the earth under your feet. There's a different kind of knowing held in nature, one that can't be explained but only felt. It doesn't demand anything from you, it simply invites you to return. Spiritual grounding isn't a concept. It's an experience. It's not achieved by effort, but by contact. Real contact. With the living world around you, the one that's always been humming quietly in the background, waiting for your presence to meet it. The soul doesn't thrive on screens or pressure or perfect schedules. It finds rest when it feels part of something whole. Nature provides that wholeness without condition, and when approached with presence, It doesn't just relax you, it reawakens you. The process of rewilding the soul begins by stepping outside, not to consume nature, but to remember you are part of it. When you walk into a forest or sit beside a river, you are not visiting a place. You are entering a living system of relationships. Every tree, every stone, every movement in the soil has intelligence. Not in the way humans define it, but in the way life expresses itself with purpose and precision. When you come into that space mindfully, something dormant inside starts to realign. Let your first experience be simple. No need for deep meditation. Just walk slowly. Feel your feet meet the ground. Sense how your body moves when there's no pavement under it. Let your awareness rest on what you hear, smell, and feel. This is not observation for analysis, it's presence without commentary. As you move through the land, drop beneath the surface of thought. Let your body respond. You'll notice your breath deepens, your shoulders relax, your pace slows without trying. That's not an accident, that's coherence. Every element in nature holds an energetic frequency that supports recalibration. Trees, for example, emit compounds that affect your immune system and nervous system. These aren't theories. They are biological truths your body already understands. When you lean against a tree or place your hand on its bark, there's a quiet exchange happening. The tree is not passive. It's aware, grounded, rooted, ancient in its rhythm. You can sync with that rhythm, not by force, but by stillness. Water is another powerful teacher. Whether it's a stream, a lake, or the sound of rainfall, water resets your energetic flow. It washes through stuck emotions, softens rigidity, and reflects truth without judgment. Sitting beside moving water allows your inner movement to begin again. Even if you're not aware of what needs to shift, the presence of water knows. It guides the release without you needing to name what's leaving. Just sit, breathe, and let it happen. Animals also play a vital role in rewilding the soul. Not as symbols or pets, but as fellow beings who live without pretense. An animal doesn't wear masks. It doesn't perform. It moves from instinct and clarity. When you share space with an animal, especially in silence, your nervous system picks up on that frequency. You begin to match it. Less thinking, more sensing, less proving, more being. Even a brief moment of eye contact with a wild creature can feel like communion. It speaks to something old in you, something that remembers life before separation. The more you return to natural spaces, the more your inner rhythm stabilizes. You begin to live less by clocks and more by light, less by pressure and more by presence. Sunrise and sunset start to carry meaning beyond time. They become energetic anchors. The temperature, the wind, the behavior of birds, these become signals, part of your awareness. You stop seeing nature as background. You begin to experience it as partner. Part of this practice is learning to slow down enough to receive. Most people walk through natural places as though moving through a museum, admiring, snapping photos, thinking. But to rewild the soul, you need to stop. Let the forest or desert or field feel that you've arrived. Speak internally. I am here. I am listening. Then wait. Let the silence extend. It may take minutes or longer, but eventually something shifts. The land begins to respond. not in words, but in sensation, a shift in the air, a sudden calm, a feeling in your chest. That's when you know you're not alone. You're in relationship. Earthing or grounding with bare feet is one of the most direct ways to restore energetic balance. The earth carries a subtle electrical charge, and direct contact helps discharge stress from your system. You're not just connecting to dirt, you're allowing the body to return to its original energetic state. Just a few minutes of barefoot contact can reduce inflammation, stabilize mood, and regulate circadian rhythms. But more than that, it reminds you that safety isn't always something to create. It can also be found. Night in nature deepens this practice further. When the light fades and the stars emerge, a different part of you wakes up. One that isn't so concerned with identity or plans, sitting outside under the night sky, without agenda, without distraction, creates a kind of humility. You see the vastness. You feel your place in it, not as insignificant, but as part of something sacred. There's no need to explain anything out loud. The stars understand you in ways language never could. If it feels right, speak a quiet intention or prayer into the land, not to get something, but to align your heart with what's around you. Offer thanks, offer presence, offer respect. The land hears, and over time, the relationship deepens. You may be drawn to the same place again and again. That place becomes a teacher, a mirror, a sanctuary. Your physical body begins to change as this connection grows. Movement becomes more fluid. Tension that once lived in your shoulders or stomach starts to melt. Digestion improves. Breathing becomes more open. These changes aren't dramatic or immediate, but they are real. The body responds to coherence, and nature gives coherence freely, without needing anything back except your awareness. The more time you spend in natural spaces, the more unnatural stress begins to feel. Loud noises, tight schedules, artificial light, they don't feel normal anymore. You begin to crave slowness. You begin to choose simplicity. This is not regression. This is evolution, guided by remembrance. You're not withdrawing from the world. You're restoring your ability to move through it with clarity and power. Technology doesn't need to be rejected completely, but it needs to be balanced. Rewilding doesn't mean becoming primitive. It means remembering that your system needs earth, air, water, and stillness just as much as it needs stimulation. You begin to design your life around cycles, not constant acceleration. You pause when your body asks. You eat when you're truly hungry. You speak when your words come from a place of presence, not habit. There's also deep emotional healing that happens here. Nature accepts grief without asking you to explain it. It accepts confusion, anger, fear, all the states that humans often suppress. You can bring those parts of yourself to the land and be held. You can cry under a tree and feel witnessed. You can sit in frustration beside a rock and let the weight of it match your own. Nothing needs to be hidden. Nothing is rejected. This is why so many ancient healing traditions involve the land. It doesn't just provide, it transforms. This practice doesn't have a linear structure. Some days you'll feel deeply connected, other days distracted. That's okay. Nature doesn't judge your presence, it simply reflects it. If you're restless, the wind may feel sharp. If you're calm, the forest may feel soft. What you experience is not random, it's resonance. Trust it. Let it teach you. Spiritual grounding through nature is not just about personal peace. It creates a ripple effect. When your system is balanced, your relationships shift. You listen more. You react less. You show up fully. The land teaches you how to be in right relationship, not just with trees and rivers, but with people, with silence, with your own body. You begin to live in reciprocity, taking only what you need, giving attention and care, seeing the sacred in what's often dismissed. Even trash left in a stream begins to feel like a violation, not because it offends your sense of order, but because it disturbs something sacred you now feel responsible for. This is where activism becomes embodied, not a cause, but a natural extension of love. Let your rewilding be slow. Let it meet you where you are. No two people walk the same path into the forest or stand the same way under the sky. But the truth of connection waits for everyone who returns. And when you return consistently, that connection becomes part of you. You don't just visit nature, you carry it in your breath, in your presence, in the way you move through the world. This is not romanticism. It's restoration. It's the soul recognizing what makes it whole again. The land does not need you to be perfect. It just needs you to show up, open, honest, listening. And if you do, it will teach you more than any book or teacher ever could. Not with words, but with presence, with cycles, with silence, with wind, with roots that go deeper than fear and branches that rise higher than thought. This is where you ground not just your body, but your spirit. This is where the soul rewilds itself, not through effort, but through surrender. And in that surrender, you find something the modern world could never sell you: true belonging, true stillness, and a truth so ancient it doesn't need to be understood, only felt, only lived, only remembered. When your nervous system starts to settle into the rhythms of the natural world, there's a moment where the contrast becomes unavoidable. The pace of leaves, wind, birds, and breath begins to clash with the digital speed you've accepted as normal. You feel the pull back into stillness, yet your phone vibrates. A notification appears. A screen lights up, and just like that, your attention is pulled out of your body, out of the present, and back into a world that never really stops. But stillness has already changed you, and now something inside you wants to stay grounded. The question becomes, how do you protect that stillness in a world that thrives on interruption? This is where sacred disconnection begins. Not as rebellion, not as punishment, but as a conscious pause, a spiritual fast from digital input. Not because technology is evil, but because constant access to it fragments the mind, dulls intuition, and fills the inner space where silence once lived. Sacred disconnection is not about rejecting technology altogether. It's about reclaiming your relationship with it, so it no longer owns your presence. Most people underestimate how much energy they lose to the digital world. The constant scrolling, checking, reacting, all of it creates micro-leaks in attention. Even when you're not actively using a device, your mind stays tethered to it. You think in posts, you speak in sound bites, you feel the urge to document instead of experience. Over time, this weakens your spiritual awareness. It separates you from direct experience and trains your focus to live outside your body. A digital fast is not simply turning off your phone. It's about becoming intentional with your attention, noticing what pulls you, understanding the patterns that shape your habits, and deciding with presence to create space between you and the screen. That space becomes fertile ground, a place where your breath feels uninterrupted, where your thoughts begin to stretch again, where your nervous system finally finds room to repair. Start with a window of time, not a vague hope of less screen time, but a sacred container. This might be a full day or even just a few hours. What matters is your clarity. Declare it. For this time, I am unplugged. I am not available to the world outside my breath. Say it out loud. Write it down. Let your system hear the intention. This signals a shift. Your body, mind, and spirit begin to prepare. During this fast, pay attention to the urges, the reach for the phone, the flick of the wrist, the phantom buzz in your pocket. Each one is not a failure, it's feedback, a map of where your attention has been outsourced. When you feel the urge, pause, breathe, return to presence. Ask yourself, what was I about to distract myself from? This question doesn't need an answer. Just asking it is a practice. Silence becomes your ally here. Not silence of sound, but of input. You're creating a gap between your mind and the noise it's grown used to. In that gap, deeper awareness emerges. You may feel bored, restless, irritated. Let those feelings rise without judgment. They are detox symptoms. They are not problems to solve. They are signs that your mind is beginning to downshift. Spend time doing things that don't require screens. Touch the earth. Drink tea with full attention. Journal by hand. Walk slowly. Let yourself rediscover the pace of life without updates, and notice what happens to your thoughts, how they begin to breathe again, how they slow, how they change. Without constant stimulation, your system reawakens to subtlety. You notice small details, the way light moves across a wall, the texture of air on your skin, the pause between sounds. These are not distractions, they are doorways. Each one brings you back to the moment. Each one reminds you that reality is still sacred, even without a filter. Digital fasting also reveals emotional patterns. You may find yourself reaching for your device when you feel lonely, insecure, or uncertain. Without the escape, those feelings rise. This is not regression. This is invitation. Use that moment to connect inward. Place a hand on your chest. Speak gently to what you feel. You're not running from it now, you're witnessing it. If needed, create rituals to anchor the space. Light a candle to begin your fast. Burn incense or play soft music. Let your environment reflect your choice. This isn't about creating aesthetic silence. It's about supporting your nervous system's shift from consumption to presence. Let your space feel like a retreat, even if only for a short while. Over time, you'll begin to feel the difference between attention that is scattered and attention that is whole. You'll start to crave slowness, stillness, undivided presence. You'll feel how much more alive your breath becomes when it's not split across 1,000 digital signals, and this craving becomes your compass. Not every message needs to be answered right away. Not every update is urgent. Sacred disconnection teaches you the power of discernment. What deserves your time? What earns your energy? What actually feeds your spirit? These are questions most people never ask because they never pause long enough to hear the answer. This practice also begins to rewire your sense of identity. So much of digital life is built around performance. The perfect image, the right opinion, the curated version of you. But when you fast from this, you begin to feel the parts of yourself that aren't trying to be seen. The parts that are quiet, raw, authentic. They don't need to prove anything. They just want to be held. This is where self-connection deepens. Without external feedback loops, you learn to trust your inner rhythm again. You stop checking for likes and start checking in with your breath. You stop measuring worth by metrics and start feeling truth in your body. The shift is subtle, but it's powerful, because presence doesn't need applause. It is its own reward. Technology is not the enemy, but unconscious use is. Sacred disconnection does not require guilt or shame. It requires honesty. Where do you lose yourself? What numbs your intuition? What steals your peace under the disguise of connection? These are the threads you begin to untangle. Create boundaries that are aligned with your healing. Keep devices out of your bedroom. Designate one day a week for offline living. Turn off non-essential notifications. Let stillness become your default, not scrolling. Let your nervous system find spaciousness again. This isn't about deprivation, it's about restoration. You'll also notice how differently you connect with others when your mind isn't half elsewhere. Conversations feel deeper. Eye contact lasts longer. Pauses don't feel awkward, they feel full. You begin to show up with your whole self, and others feel it. This is where real connection starts, not through bandwidth, but through presence. There's a kind of joy that returns during these fasts, a lightness, a childlike curiosity. You begin to remember what life felt like before constant input, how time used to stretch, how wonder used to arrive unannounced. That joy was never lost. It was just buried beneath notifications. Let this be a regular practice, not an emergency reset. Don't wait until you're burnt out. Make sacred disconnection part of your rhythm, a way of honoring your system, a way of protecting your spirit, a way of remembering that your consciousness was never meant to be available 24/7. When you return to your devices, do so slowly. Don't rush back into the flood. Be mindful of what you allow back in. Protect the spaciousness you've reclaimed. It is precious. Let your digital habits be shaped by presence, not pressure. And most of all, know that this practice is not about perfection. Some days it will be easier. Some days your mind will resist. That's okay. Keep returning. Keep choosing presence over performance. Keep choosing yourself over distraction. Because the more you do, the more you realize. Peace isn't found in apps or platforms or perfect feeds. It's found in the space between distractions. It's found in your breath, in the quiet between responses, in the awareness that was always there, waiting for you to come home. Sacred disconnection is not absence, it is return. And in that return, everything begins to feel more real, more grounded, more alive. Not because the world changed, but because you finally made space to feel it again. After spending time unplugged, free from digital static, your system begins to clear. Thoughts settle, breath deepens, your presence sharpens. You start to feel the subtle difference between being mentally tired and energetically drained. That awareness, once dulled by constant output, now becomes crystal clear. It's not just the noise of the world you've stepped back from, it's the invisible residue it leaves behind. Emotions that aren't yours, thoughts that linger longer than they should, energies that cling even after the moment has passed. What you're sensing is psychic debris. And this is the moment to begin caring for your energetic body the way you've learned to care for your mind. Your energetic body, often referred to as the aura, is not a metaphor. It's a field of subtle awareness that surrounds and infuses your physical form. It responds to your thoughts, your environment, the people around you, and your own internal states. Every interaction leaves a trace. Some of those traces uplift, others leave fog. And just like physical hygiene, this energetic space needs regular care. Spiritual hygiene begins with observation. You start by noticing how your energy shifts after conversations, environments, and emotions. You don't analyze, just notice. When you feel depleted after being around certain people or scrolling through media, that's not weakness, that's sensitivity. And sensitivity, when honored, becomes intuition. The first step to cleansing your energetic body is grounding. Without a rooted connection to the present, subtle practices become unstable. Begin with the feet. Stand or sit with awareness in the soles. Breathe into them as if they're pulling energy from the earth. Let each exhale carry your awareness downward. This isn't imagination, it's recalibration. It tells your body it is supported, that it belongs. Salt is one of the oldest tools for energetic purification. It absorbs stagnant energy without needing any special ritual. A salt bath, even without added oils or herbs, draws dense vibrations from the body. Let your intention guide the process. As you soak, speak inwardly. I release what no longer serves. I welcome clarity. If a bath isn't available, a salt scrub in the shower works just as well. Rinse slowly. As the salt leaves your skin, feel the old energy moving with it. Smudging with smoke is another deeply effective practice. Sage, Palo Santo, cedar, and other sacred herbs have been used across traditions not for scent, but for their vibrational properties. When burned with intention, the smoke alters the energy in a space or around a body. The key is presence. As you smudge, move slowly. Circle the body with the smoke, especially around the head, heart, hands, and feet. Let each motion be a gesture of release, not from control, but from trust. Sound is also a potent purifier. A single chime, a bell, or a deep hum can break up stagnant energy and restore natural flow. You don't need expensive tools. Even your voice carries the power to shift your field. Try toning a vowel, ah, o, or e, and feel how it moves through your chest, your spine, your skull. Let the sound find the places where silence has become heavy. Let it move what words cannot. Water, especially in its purest form, holds deep cleansing power. A simple practice involves placing your hands under cold running water with the intention to release. Visualize tension, thoughts, even other people's energy leaving through your palms. Let your breath guide the release. This may seem small, but the nervous system responds instantly. It's a reset that requires nothing but willingness and presence. Another form of energetic hygiene involves visualization. This is not fantasy. It's focused attention. Sit quietly and see your body surrounded by light, soft, steady, protective. Let it grow from your center outward. If you sense dark or cloudy areas, don't panic. Just breathe into them. Offer your presence. Ask the light to fill and clear without pushing or fixing. This is gentle work. Energy responds to softness more than force. Daily aura brushing is another technique. Using your hands, sweep your energetic field from head to toe, about 6 inches from your skin. Move slowly. Pause where you feel resistance. These areas often hold emotional memory or external residue. After brushing, shake your hands out to release what was collected. This physical movement supports the clearing your energy is already doing. Crystals can also support your field. Stones like black tourmaline, smoky quartz, and selenite are known to absorb or deflect unwanted energies. Carrying one in your pocket or placing it under your pillow can help maintain clarity, especially during transitions or emotionally intense times. These tools amplify intention, not replace it. The power is not in the stone, it's in your conscious use of it. The way you end your day matters. Just like washing your face or brushing your teeth, energetic cleansing before bed creates a deeper state of rest. Take a few moments to scan your field. Where do you feel tension? Where did your energy go during the day? Bring your awareness there and offer breath. You might speak a phrase aloud. I release this day. I call my energy back. I allow only peace to remain. This isn't routine, it's a ritual, a return to wholeness. Boundaries are part of spiritual hygiene, not just emotional boundaries, but energetic ones. Being kind doesn't require you to absorb what isn't yours. You can listen without carrying. You can love without merging. Creating a clear energetic edge allows you to remain open without becoming overwhelmed. Visualization helps. Picture a soft field around you, like a membrane that lets love through but filters distortion. You're not building walls, you're preserving clarity. Breathwork also plays a major role. Certain breath patterns clear stagnant energy faster than any external tool. A slow inhale through the nose, a short hold, and a steady exhale through the mouth can flush emotional residue from the chest and belly. The key is rhythm. Find a breath that feels cleansing, not forced. Repeat until you feel the field soften. Movement completes the process. Energy needs space to move. Stretch, shake, walk, sway. Let your body express what words can't. If grief lingers, let it rise. If anger pulses, let it move. This is not about performance. It's about allowing what's real to pass through. When energy is denied motion, it settles into stagnation. When honored with movement, it becomes transformation. Over time, your sensitivity sharpens. You begin to sense not just when your energy is low, but why. You become your own guide, able to navigate emotional and spiritual currents with greater skill. This is what spiritual hygiene creates. Not perfection, but awareness. You don't stop absorbing, you start clearing. You don't avoid life. You meet it with a clean field and an open heart. Your aura becomes a reflection of your intention, not always glowing, but always responsive. You feel when you need rest. You know when it's time to step back. You trust your intuition because your field is clear enough to hear it. This trust is not given, it's built. One practice, one breath, one clearing at a time. You'll start to feel the shift in how people respond to you, not because you've changed your personality, but because your energy is more coherent. Coherence is magnetic. It invites truth, presence, and depth, and you carry it with you, not as armor, but as alignment. Spiritual hygiene is not an emergency tool. It's a daily devotion, a way of honoring the energy you carry and the spaces you move through. You begin to treat your presence as sacred, your field as alive, your body as a conduit, not just a container. And from that place, you move through the world differently. Not untouched by life, but untouched by what doesn't belong. This isn't about escaping the world, it's about meeting it clean, grounded in your body, connected to your breath, aligned in your energy, clear in your intention. And when your field is clear, your spirit has more space to speak. Your decisions hold more weight. Your path unfolds with less noise. You become a clear vessel, not because life gets easier, but because you've learned how to tend to your space, how to clear the fog before it becomes a storm, how to return to presence before the weight of the day buries your clarity. This is the gift of subtle mindfulness, not loud, not flashy, but steady, constant, deep. And in its quiet power, it gives you back to yourself, whole, clear, alive, ready to continue forward, not carrying more, but carrying less. Not escaping life, but re-entering it fully with a field that can hold what matters and release what doesn't. Once the subtle layers of your energy field begin to clear, your awareness becomes more refined. You notice sensations more fully, emotions arrive without confusion, and your inner space feels more breathable. But the body, as much as the spirit, craves movement. Energy doesn't only sit still, it flows. And the next invitation isn't to go inward and stay. It's to bring that presence outward, to move with it, to walk with it, and to let each step become more than transportation. This is where prayer begins to take on a new form, not one tied to posture or language, but one tied to rhythm, to contact, to movement that reconnects you with the divine as you move through the ordinary. Walking in prayer is not performance. It's not about doing something holy in a religious sense. It's about awakening sacred awareness in the most natural human act, walking. The steps you take become conscious, intentional, and open. Your body begins to speak in rhythm. Each stride carries your breath, your thoughts, your presence. With that rhythm comes a softening, a shift from rushing to arriving. To begin walking as prayer, you don't need anything special. No tools, no phrases, no chants. What you need is attention. Start by standing still and feeling the earth beneath you. Let your weight settle. Feel where your body connects to the ground. This is your first point of prayer, acknowledging support, that you are held, always. Then begin walking, slowly, not exaggerated, but intentional. Pay attention to how your feet meet the ground. Notice the sensation of pressure, of balance, of gravity. Let your breath match your pace. There's no right number of steps per breath. The goal isn't synchronization. The goal is connection. Breath becomes your companion, your anchor. the quiet metronome of your awareness. Let it move through you. As thoughts arise, don't stop them. Let them pass like clouds over a steady sky. The prayer is not about silence, it's about presence. When walking becomes prayer, the world changes texture. Surfaces feel different. Light becomes more detailed. The wind has a tone, not just a temperature. You begin to notice your surroundings in a way that doesn't require interpretation. You feel their presence. Trees become more than background. Sidewalks more than structure. You are not just in a place, you are in relationship with it. Your steps start to carry intention. You can set one before your walk or allow it to arise during. This intention isn't a goal, it's an offering. A phrase like, "Thank you, I'm listening," or "May I be guided," can rest in your awareness with each footfall. Repeat it inwardly, not as a chant, but as a heartbeat of presence. Let it dissolve into the rhythm. Over time, the repetition merges with the act. You are no longer saying it, you are walking it. Prayer walking can also be a space for emotional processing. As you move, your body naturally releases tension. Emotions rise with motion. Thoughts unwind. If grief appears, let it. If joy comes, welcome it. The walk holds space for all of it. You don't need to figure anything out. Just let the motion carry it through. Your steps are doing the work. Your awareness is holding the container. There is no wrong environment for this practice. It can happen on a forest trail, a quiet neighborhood street, or even in circles on your own floor. The sacred is not limited to landscapes. It lives in your presence. What matters is your willingness to be with each step as if it matters, because it does. Each one is a reminder that you are here, that you are alive, that you are connected. Your pace will change. Some days you'll walk slowly, almost in stillness. Other times, your body will want to move faster, to cover more ground. Let it. This is not rigid discipline. It's listening. When your body finds its natural rhythm, your energy aligns with it. Movement becomes fluid, effortless. That fluidity is part of the prayer. It's how spirit speaks through your body. Prayer doesn't have to be verbal. It can be felt. A hand brushing the leaves as you pass. A moment of stillness at a corner. A pause to take in the shape of the sky. Each of these is a silent offering. You're not asking for anything. You're acknowledging that presence is already enough, that nothing needs to be added, only noticed. There's also room in this practice to connect with the earth intentionally. As you walk, offer your awareness to the land beneath you. Even in the city, the ground remembers. It holds memory, weight, and life. With each step, thank the earth for holding you. Let your gratitude rise without words. Your energy carries it. The earth understands. This practice can deepen when walking routes become familiar. Returning to the same path creates an energetic relationship. The path begins to recognize you, not literally, but spiritually. It begins to mirror your process. You notice changes not just in the landscape, but in yourself. The trees you pass start to feel like old friends. The quiet bench becomes a companion. Prayer becomes less of a practice and more of a natural state. Your inner landscape changes with the outer one. If you're tense, the walk may feel jagged at first. That's okay. Keep moving. Let your steps soften the edges. With every footfall, release a little more. The body holds stories, Walking in prayer helps those stories complete, not through thinking, but through gentle repetition. Left, right, breath, ground, again. When walking becomes sacred, solitude becomes rich. You're not alone. You're accompanied by your breath, the earth, the air, your awareness. If others pass, let their presence fold into the prayer. Not as interruption, but inclusion. Every face becomes part of the rhythm. You don't need to engage, but you also don't need to resist. The world becomes your chapel, your sanctuary, your sacred text. Your nervous system begins to respond to this practice. The stress patterns that once pulled your attention start to dissolve. You sleep more deeply. You react less sharply. You listen more freely. Not because you've tried to be different, but because your presence is deeper. You've returned to your body and, through it, to the divine. If you feel called, bring in physical gestures. Touch your chest as you pass certain places. Stop and place your palm on a tree. Bow your head slightly as a silent blessing. Let your body create its own liturgy. These acts don't need to be planned. They arise from feeling. Let them come naturally. Even weather plays a role in this. Rain adds weight and clarity. Sunlight brings softness. Wind invites release. Each condition offers a different quality to the walk. None are barriers. They're all part of the prayer. Walking in the rain or cold becomes not a discomfort, but a deeper surrender. You meet life as it is, not as you want it to be. You'll find that over time, you need less to feel connected. A short walk, even 5 minutes, carries depth. It's not about distance, it's about depth of attention. You can walk to the corner store and back and still return with more peace than an hour in stillness if you move with presence. Technology can be integrated wisely. If you must carry a device, silence it. Use it only as a tool of intention, perhaps to take one photo that feels meaningful, or to record a thought that truly matters. But don't let it pull you out. Don't let it lead. Let your breath lead. Let your step lead. If the mind wanders, and it will, gently return. Each step is an invitation, a reset. You don't have to get anywhere. You just have to come back, to your body, to your breath, to your path. Walking in prayer is an act of devotion, not to a doctrine, but to life itself. It's a way of saying yes to being here, yes to presence, yes to letting each part of you arrive in this moment without needing to earn it or explain it. It's how your body teaches your spirit to stay. And the more you walk this way, the more your life begins to reflect it. You become someone who brings stillness into movement, who brings depth into the ordinary, who walks not just through the world, but with it. This is the integration of all the practices before. The silence, the grounding, the clearing, the connection, they all converge here. In motion, in breath, in step, in prayer. And there is no destination, only the next step, and the next, and the next, until the walking itself becomes home. As each step lands with greater presence and your waking life begins to feel more grounded, clear, and alive, a new question arises. What happens when the body rests and the mind lets go? Where does that awareness go when the outer world fades and only the inner world remains? You've learned to walk in presence, to breathe with intention, to clear and realign your energy through stillness and movement. Now, the invitation is to enter the next sacred space, sleep, not just as rest, but as a portal. Because what you do in waking hours shapes your dreams, and your dreams hold more than stories. They hold guidance. They hold messages, memory, and medicine waiting to be received. Dream work, as a form of spiritual mindfulness, means entering sleep with intention. It's choosing not to dismiss your dreams as random or chaotic, but to meet them as sacred communication. Just as your body speaks through sensation, your subconscious speaks through imagery, emotion, and movement. And when you begin to listen, everything shifts. You stop waking up confused or disconnected. You start waking up with insight, release, and direction that no external source could have offered. The first step is preparation. How you enter sleep affects what you receive. The nervous system needs a soft landing. Let your body know that rest is coming by dimming the lights early, reducing sensory input, and turning away from devices. Light affects melatonin, and screen activity affects your dream depth. By honoring your entry into night, you open the channel for deeper, more vivid dreaming. Before sleep, set a clear intention, not a demand or expectation, but a quiet request. This can be simple. You might speak inwardly, "I am open to remembering what my soul wants to show me tonight," or "I welcome clarity, healing, or insight as I rest." The words don't matter as much as the energy behind them. Say it gently, say it honestly, then let it go. The intention doesn't need to be chased. It simply needs to be planted. Create a consistent space to rest. Your sleeping environment carries energy just like your meditation space. Keep it clean, quiet, and energetically clear. If possible, open a window to let in fresh air. Use subtle scents like lavender or sandalwood if they feel soothing. Your body learns to associate your space with safety and surrender. That state of trust allows your deeper consciousness to rise freely. Keep a journal by your bed. The first few moments after waking hold the most vivid fragments of the dream state. These impressions fade quickly, so write down what you remember immediately. Even if it's just a feeling, a word, a color, or a body sensation, write it. You're not looking for perfect recall. You're building relationship with your dreaming self. Each time you record, you reinforce to your system that this space matters. Over time, your dreams will become more coherent. You may start noticing recurring symbols, animals, places, people you don't know in waking life, sensations that don't match waking logic. These are not mistakes. They are layers of the subconscious expressing itself through metaphor. In dream work, you don't try to decode your dreams like a puzzle. You let them unfold like poetry. You ask, what did I feel? What stayed with me? What part of this reflects something alive in me right now? Many dreams process emotional energy that couldn't move during the day. This might look like chaotic or overwhelming experiences in the dreamscape. These are not warnings, they are releases. Dreams help discharge suppressed fear, grief, or confusion in symbolic form. The dream isn't asking you to fix it, it's showing you that the emotion has space to complete. Your role is not to control, but to witness. When you wake, acknowledge the emotion, not the storyline. Feel what's moving. Let it move all the way through. Some dreams are more than release. They are messages. These carry a different frequency. They leave you with clarity or a strange sense of familiarity. They may come with symbols that echo across multiple dreams, or they may arrive with a sense of presence beyond your own awareness. These dreams are often guidance, not future predictions, but spiritual direction. They point you inward. They nudge your choices. They speak in a language beyond the mind. Lucid dreaming may occur as your awareness strengthens. This is when you realize within the dream that you are dreaming. In that moment, you're not just an observer, you are co-creator. You can ask questions, shift environments, or simply be present in awe. Lucidity is not about control, it's about clarity. You're awake within rest. You're conscious within the subconscious. If this happens, stay calm. Let the moment unfold. The more grounded you remain, the more access you have. To invite lucid dreaming, gentle techniques can help. One is reality checking during the day. Ask yourself often, am I dreaming? Look at your hands. Look at text. In dreams, these often appear distorted. The habit of checking carries into sleep, and when repeated enough, it creates awareness inside the dream. Another method is waking briefly in the early morning, setting the intention to re-enter sleep with awareness and allowing your body to drift while your mind stays lightly alert. Protection is also important, not because dreams are dangerous, but because the subconscious is vulnerable. Before sleep, you can speak a phrase to set your energetic boundary. Only what serves my healing and growth may enter. This creates a container. Your dream space is sacred, and like any sacred space, it deserves care. Not all dreams are symbolic. Some are neutral. These serve to regulate, to balance thought and memory. Even these have value. You may not feel an emotional charge, but your system is doing unseen work. Don't look for meaning where none exists. Trust the rhythm. Some nights are messages, some nights are rest. Recurring dreams often point to unresolved energy. Instead of fearing them or overanalyzing, bring compassion. Ask what part of you keeps returning here. Is it a fear, a memory, a lesson that hasn't been lived? When you meet the recurring dream with presence instead of avoidance, it often shifts. The loop breaks not through analysis, but through honest attention. Spiritual visitations may occur. You might dream of loved ones who've passed, or guides, or beings you've never met, but who carry an unmistakable frequency of comfort or wisdom. These dreams feel different. The energy is calm, the message clear without words. These are not figments of the mind. They are encounters with a realm that isn't bound by waking laws. Receive them without grasping. Honor them in the morning with gratitude. Nightmares are also part of the process. They arise from fear, unresolved trauma, or unexpressed emotion. They're not punishments. They are invitations. They are the soul's way of surfacing what's been avoided. When you wake from one, ground yourself first. Touch your body. Breathe. Then return to the image with softness. What part of you was trying to get your attention? Sometimes the monster is not the threat. It's the fear asking to be seen. Dreams can also offer creative insight, solutions to problems, new ideas, messages in song or image that later become guidance for your work, relationships, or healing. Your dreaming mind is not limited by logic. It connects dots the waking mind can't reach. When you begin to trust it, you'll find that sleep becomes an extension of your spiritual path. As your dream practice deepens, you begin to notice subtle integration during the day. Memories from dreams arise with emotion. You see symbols in waking life that echo from your dreams. These moments are not coincidences. They are reminders that your inner and outer worlds are not separate. They are always speaking to each other. Your role is simply to listen. This work is best supported with consistency. You don't need dramatic results each night. A gentle, steady approach builds strength. Sleep well. Set intention. Wake slowly. Reflect softly. Over time, the practice grows. Your trust deepens. Your subconscious becomes less a mystery and more a partner. And more than anything, dream work teaches surrender. You don't choose the content. You don't dictate the outcome. You prepare, you enter, you receive. It's one of the few practices where true control is impossible. And that's the medicine, letting go, trusting the unseen, accepting that guidance doesn't always look like clarity, but it always leaves a mark. Your nights become a continuation of your spiritual life, a place not just for unconscious processing, but conscious receiving. You begin to wake up not just rested, but realigned, not just physically, but spiritually, because your soul never sleeps. It speaks in symbols, it heals in silence, and when you learn to listen, night becomes more than rest. It becomes sacred conversation. As dreams begin to open your inner world and you receive messages that bypass logic and speak directly to the soul, something shifts in how you engage with your surroundings. You start to realize that guidance doesn't just arrive in sleep. It exists all around you, all the time, through words, silences, faces, winds, and pauses. The question is no longer whether life is speaking. The question is whether you've been listening, not just with your ears, but with your whole being, because true listening is more than hearing, it's presence. And in today's world, presence is rare. Listening as a spiritual act begins with slowing down the part of you that always wants to respond. It's about making space within yourself to receive not just sound, but meaning, not just information, but energy. This kind of listening is not passive, it's deeply active. It means being willing to feel without reacting, to witness without fixing, and to allow without interpreting too soon. It's an offering of your full attention, given without condition or agenda. The first place to begin is with yourself. Internal listening is the foundation of spiritual awareness. It means becoming quiet enough inside to notice your subtle needs, your unspoken thoughts, the way your body speaks without words. Most people carry an inner voice that's been buried beneath busyness, comparison, or pressure. When you listen inwardly, you allow that voice to rise again. It doesn't always sound clear. Sometimes it arrives as sensation or mood or restlessness. But if you meet it without judgment, it begins to trust you again. This requires stillness, but also patience. Your soul doesn't shout over the noise. It waits. It speaks in the space you make when you stop filling every moment with commentary, when you stop analyzing and start feeling. One way to practice is to sit in silence each day, not to meditate, not to do breath work, but simply to listen. Set a timer for a few minutes. Do nothing but receive. Thoughts may rise, and that's okay. But underneath the thoughts, something deeper stirs. A truth that doesn't need to be crafted. A knowing that has no need for approval. You'll begin to notice how much of your attention is usually spent preparing responses. In conversation, you may be forming your next sentence before the other person is finished speaking. Sacred listening asks you to pause, to truly hear, to allow the other's presence to exist fully before responding. This kind of listening can be felt. It makes people feel seen without needing to explain themselves. It creates a field of trust. The nervous system softens in the presence of someone who is truly listening. To cultivate this, start with someone close to you. During your next conversation, practice being fully present. No interrupting, no offering advice unless asked. Let your eyes stay soft. Let your body stay open. Allow the silence that often follows deep sharing. Don't rush to fill it. Sacred listening honors the pause. Sometimes the most healing part of a conversation is the space after someone speaks, where they're allowed to simply be without being fixed. This practice also changes how you hear everyday moments. The wind moving through leaves, the cadence of footsteps, the rhythm of rain. These sounds begin to carry meaning, not messages you translate into language, but presence you feel in the body. Life becomes more textured. You stop treating sound as background and start meeting it as part of the unfolding moment. Each sound becomes part of your relationship with now. Listening to the universe is less about signs and more about receptivity. Synchronicity speaks quietly. Nudges come through patterns you'd miss if your mind was too loud. A phrase overheard, a repeated number, a shift in mood when entering a certain place. The universe doesn't use direct language, it uses alignment. You feel something more than you hear it. When you're attuned, you start to notice that the world mirrors your internal state. Listening becomes your way of navigating, of discerning what's in resonance and what's not. Listening can also be a form of prayer. Not one where you speak, but one where you wait, not asking for anything, just being available. This kind of prayer is trust. It says, I don't need to be in control. I'm willing to receive what's here. Sometimes what arrives is clarity. Sometimes it's emotion. Sometimes it's just stillness. But every time you return to this space, you deepen your relationship with presence itself. You begin to hear the tone behind words. When someone speaks, you notice whether their voice carries fear, hope, defense, or love. You stop reacting to content and start responding to energy. This doesn't make you distant. It makes you compassionate. You see beneath the surface. You hear what's unspoken. And that awareness shapes your interactions in ways that reduce conflict, build trust, and increase understanding. Listening also means tuning into the seasons of your life. There are times for action, for building, for speaking, and there are times for quiet, for rest, for renewal. Most people override these natural rhythms because they aren't listening to their internal cues. Your body will tell you when it's time to shift. Fatigue, irritation, loss of focus. These are not problems to push through. They are messages asking to be heard. When you respect them, you return to balance more quickly. You stop chasing productivity at the cost of peace. Spiritual listening isn't something you turn on once a week. It becomes a way of life. It changes how you relate to people, to the earth, to your own breath. You notice what pulls your attention and start choosing what you give it to. You become less reactive, more responsive, less consumed, more connected. It's not a dramatic transformation. It's a quiet, lasting one. If emotions arise in this process, let them. Sometimes, when we truly listen to ourselves, to others, to life, we hear things we've been avoiding. Old pain, unspoken needs, longing we didn't know was still alive. Sacred listening includes this too. It means making space without rushing to cover it, feeling fully without needing to solve it. Let the emotion move through like a wave. Presence is what allows it to release. Your listening deepens with practice. Some days you'll feel wide open. Others you'll notice how much noise lives in your own mind. Don't judge it. Awareness is enough. Just noticing how much you listen or don't is a step toward wholeness. With time, the noise softens, and what remains is a presence that doesn't strain to hear, it simply receives. Even the body becomes a guide when you're listening. Your posture shifts. You feel when you're open and when you're guarded. You notice when your chest tightens, when your breath shortens, when your jaw holds back a truth. These signals are not subtle once you begin to listen. They're honest. Your body becomes a trusted voice in a world full of confusion. Listening is also how we reconnect with our deepest values. In the quiet, your priorities return. You remember what actually matters, what brings peace, what aligns. And from that remembering, your decisions gain integrity. You act not from habit, but from alignment. You speak not to impress, but to connect. You move not to prove, but to embody. True listening is radical because it asks you to give up the illusion of control. It asks you to let go of knowing and become a vessel for what wants to emerge. It asks you to meet life without a script. That kind of receptivity is powerful. It's how healing begins. It's how transformation unfolds, not in noise, but in the still space where something new can finally be heard. And perhaps, most importantly, listening teaches you how to love without condition. When you listen fully to someone else, not to respond, not to guide, but to be with, you give them something rare. You give them presence, and that is often more healing than any solution. Because deep down, everyone just wants to be seen, heard, and held without being fixed. So you return again and again to this practice, not because it's easy, but because it's real. You walk through your life as a receiver, a listener, a witness. You pause before speaking. You hold silence like a sacred cup. You stop needing to know everything. And in that stopping, in that space, something holy arrives, something ancient, something utterly new, something that sounds finally like truth. When you begin to truly listen to your breath, your body, your environment, your emotions, something becomes undeniably clear. The depth you've been searching for isn't hidden in faraway places. It's always been here, waiting beneath the noise, beneath the rush, beneath the daily momentum that sweeps you along without pause. Listening shows you where presence lives, but staying in that presence throughout a busy life is its own spiritual skill. Life doesn't always offer long spaces to be still or retreat in the traditional sense. And yet, your spirit doesn't need hours to reset. It only needs a moment of intention. Micro-retreats are the response to that truth. These are short, powerful windows throughout your day where you stop, breathe, reconnect, and return, not to escape the world, but to meet it differently. In a fast-paced reality, the ability to pause, even for a few minutes, is a sacred act of resistance. It's how you protect your inner peace while continuing to show up in your relationships, your responsibilities, your life. The idea isn't to schedule more, but to drop into small, intentional experiences that realign you from the inside out. Micro-retreats are less about what you do and more about how you do it. They don't require a mat, music, or a specific location. They only ask for awareness. 5 minutes of deep presence can often bring more clarity than an hour of distracted stillness. Because when you give your full self to a moment, that moment expands. Begin with your breath. It's the fastest way to enter a micro-retreat. You don't need to change it. Just meet it. Follow it in and out 3 times with all of your attention. Let each exhale soften your body. Let each inhale remind you that you're alive. If thoughts pull you, come back to the rhythm. You can do this at your desk, in a car, during a break, or even in a bathroom stall. There is no wrong place to return to yourself. Next, use your senses. Choose one: sight, sound, touch, taste, or smell, and focus on it completely. Take a sip of water and feel it travel through your body. Listen to one sound without labeling it. Touch a surface and notice its texture, temperature, resistance. These are not random details, they're entry points. By choosing one sense and staying with it for a few moments, you stop scattering your energy and begin collecting it back into presence. Micro-retreats also begin with your intention. Before beginning, ask yourself gently, what am I needing right now? Is it calm? Is it clarity? Is it grounding? You don't need to analyze it. Just notice. Then let that intention shape the next few minutes. If you're feeling disconnected, rest your hands over your heart and breathe into that space. If you're overwhelmed, try looking at the sky and letting your awareness stretch beyond the walls around you. Let nature hold the parts of you that feel heavy. Movement is another path. Stand up and stretch your arms slowly, as if you're greeting the air around you. Roll your shoulders, shake out your hands, walk slowly for 2 minutes, not to get somewhere, but to feel each step. This is not exercise, it's embodiment. Movement with mindfulness clears mental clutter and creates an inner shift that thought alone can't achieve. You can also use visualization. Close your eyes and see yourself standing in a place that brings peace. It can be real or imagined. Let your body feel what it's like to be there. The sound, the temperature, the feeling in your chest. Stay for a minute or 2, then return gently to where you are. This isn't escape, it's recalibration. You're reminding your system that peace is available even in transition. If you feel tension building during the day, use a simple grounding technique. Place both feet flat on the floor and picture roots extending from them deep into the earth. Let the weight of your thoughts flow downward with each breath. Feel your body becoming heavier, steadier. This takes less than a minute, yet can shift your whole mental and emotional state. Another micro-retreat involves observation. Step away from a screen, go to a window, and watch one thing closely. A tree moving, people walking, light shifting. Not to judge it or make meaning from it, just to observe. Watching the world without commentary reconnects you to your awareness in a way that digital input cannot. It brings you out of mental loops and back into the now. You can also use affirmations as anchors. Choose one that speaks to your current state and repeat it internally with each breath. Phrases like, "I am safe," "I return to center," or "This moment is enough," can act as spiritual handholds. Let the words sink in. Let them be felt, not just thought. This brings the affirmation from the mind into the body. Sound can serve as a reset too. Use a short chime, a single note, or even the sound of your own voice. A soft hum or low tone can shift your internal frequency. Let it vibrate through your chest or throat. You're not trying to make music, you're tuning your system. Just as sound clears physical space, it clears internal space. Even closing your eyes for 30 seconds and placing a hand on your belly can be a micro-retreat. It brings you back to breath, to gravity, to sensation. This is where presence lives, not in the thoughts racing through your head, but in the simple act of being still and aware in your body. Micro-retreats are also powerful when paired with transitions. Before entering a new task, take a moment to pause. Breathe once deeply, acknowledge what's just ended, and begin again with intention. These small breaks prevent emotional and mental residue from carrying into your next interaction. They help you reset rather than accumulate. They give you choice. Throughout the day, the nervous system absorbs stimulation. Even joyful moments carry charge. Without release, this accumulates. That's why small resets are not luxuries, they're necessities. A few moments to exhale fully, a few minutes to stop performing. That's where restoration happens. Spiritual practices often feel unreachable when you think they require long hours or silence. Micro-retreats remove that barrier. They return you to the truth that depth doesn't require distance. You don't need to go far to come home. You need presence, intention, breath. That's it. And when you repeat these pauses regularly, they add up. Your baseline shifts. You become less reactive, more steady, less depleted, more rooted. Each micro-retreat strengthens your capacity to stay connected. When stress arises, you remember that pause is available. When overwhelm builds, you know that stillness is possible. Not later, not someday, right now, in this breath, in this moment. The key is not complexity, but consistency. Practice throughout the day, not just when you're in crisis. Make it part of how you live, before meals, after calls, between meetings, in parking lots, on the edge of your bed. These pauses are not separate from life. They are life, lived with attention, grounded in spirit. Over time, these moments become something more. They begin to form a rhythm, a pulse in your day. You start to trust your ability to reset. You don't need to wait for a vacation or a perfect setting. You carry your retreat within you. You walk into each experience with a quieter center, and something else happens too. Others feel it. They sense your presence. They relax around you. Not because you've said the perfect thing, but because you've come from a place of wholeness. That's the ripple. You take 5 minutes for your own spirit, and it changes the room. So pause, breathe, step back, close your eyes, return to your body. Choose presence again and again, not to get somewhere, but because every time you do, you remember who you are beneath the noise. And in that remembering, you begin again, not as someone trying to keep up, but as someone who knows how to return, over and over, with gentleness, with breath, with truth. As the rhythm of micro-retreats starts to weave through your day, something deeper begins to surface. You realize it's not just about finding moments of peace, but about softening into them, without resistance. Each pause has shown you how much you've been holding, how tightly you've tried to manage the discomfort, the unknown, the fear of not doing enough. These small moments of stillness reveal a deeper truth, that the peace you're looking for isn't in doing more, but in releasing the grip. It's in letting go, not with defeat, but with sacred clarity. And this is where the path of surrender begins. Sacred surrender is not about giving up. It's about releasing what was never yours to carry. It's not passive, but profoundly active. It's the kind of letting go that happens with full awareness, full presence, and full trust. Letting go of the illusion that you must control everything. Letting go of the belief that your worth is tied to outcome. Letting go of the subtle fear that if you stop holding it all together, everything will fall apart. True surrender requires mindfulness. You cannot let go of what you haven't fully faced. You must first see what you're clinging to, an idea, a memory, a role, a version of the future, and then meet it with compassion. You begin by noticing the tension in your jaw, your chest, your thoughts. Surrender starts there, not by forcing release, but by softening your resistance to what is. You breathe into the space that wants control and gently ask, "What am I afraid of losing?" Often, the answer isn't something external. It's a sense of identity, a role you've grown used to, a belief about how things should unfold. And in surrender, you come face to face with uncertainty. This is why many avoid it, but in mindfulness, you learn to stay. You learn that uncertainty is not the enemy. It's the space where grace enters. Begin your practice of surrender by sitting quietly and becoming aware of what feels heavy. Not to solve it, but to name it. Maybe it's the pressure to be perfect. Maybe it's the fear of disappointing someone. Maybe it's the constant need to know what's next. Whatever it is, hold it gently in your awareness. Acknowledge it without judgment. This naming is the first act of surrender. You are no longer hiding from it. You are meeting it fully. Next, bring your breath to that place. Let the inhale create space. Let the exhale carry release. You're not trying to remove the feeling. You're allowing it to be there without needing to hold it so tightly. The breath reminds the nervous system that it's safe to let go. Each exhale becomes an offering, not to get rid of something, but to return it to where it belongs. The heart plays a central role in sacred surrender. This is where holding often hides. You might feel a subtle tightness, a sense of guardedness. When you bring mindfulness to the heart, you're inviting it to soften. Place your hand over your chest and breathe into the warmth beneath it. Speak inwardly. I allow myself to release. I trust what I cannot see. These are not mantras of escape. They are declarations of willingness. Letting go also means learning to live without guarantees. You won't always know how it will turn out. You won't always get closure in the way you expect. Surrender means you show up fully and let the outcome unfold without trying to manage every piece. This is not recklessness, it's wisdom. It's the understanding that control often limits what life wants to give you. There is a paradox in surrender. The more you release, the more strength you discover. Not forceful strength, but a calm, grounded power that doesn't rise from certainty, but from presence. You become rooted not in knowing, but in trusting. You begin to understand that surrender is not about collapsing. It's about standing open, arms wide, heart steady, ready to receive what is. This practice transforms relationships. You stop needing others to be different so you can feel safe. You stop controlling conversations, outcomes, dynamics. You learn to listen more, fix less, hold space instead of forcing change. People feel this shift. They feel less pressure around you. They feel more seen, and your own nervous system begins to rest because it's no longer working so hard to keep everything in place. Surrender also allows space for grief. Letting go often brings sadness, and mindfulness gives you the capacity to feel it without drowning in it. To mourn the expectations, the lost moments, the versions of the story that didn't unfold. Grief is not weakness, it's honesty, and through surrender, it becomes sacred. It becomes a cleansing of the heart, a making room for something new. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care without attachment. You act with integrity, and then you release the need to control what comes next. This is spiritual maturity, doing your part, then trusting the rest. Letting go not out of apathy, but out of alignment. Sacred surrender can also be supported by ritual. Write down what you're ready to release and burn it with intention. Speak aloud what you're handing over, even if only to the wind. These acts help the body and energy system process what the mind can't always explain. The ritual becomes a bridge between intention and embodiment. In surrender, you may also notice moments of silence that feel different, not empty, but full. A deep quiet that comes not from absence, but from presence. This is the soul resting. This is you no longer trying to shape every outcome. This is spaciousness, and it is sacred. One of the most powerful aspects of surrender is that it invites grace. Things begin to move that you didn't push. Clarity arrives that you didn't plan. Relationships shift in ways that your effort never could have created. This doesn't happen because you forced it. It happens because you stopped blocking it. You allowed the natural unfolding of life to meet you where you truly are. Letting go also changes how you speak to yourself. The inner critic loses power. The voice that used to demand perfection softens. You start saying things like, "I did my best," and actually believing it. You start allowing rest without guilt. You stop apologizing for being human. This isn't laziness, it's liberation. You'll notice that your reactions become slower, your choices become clearer, your energy becomes steadier, Because when you're not clinging, you're more present. And presence is what gives you real power, not the illusion of control, but the clarity of alignment. This practice isn't about getting everything right. It's about living with open hands, about doing what's yours to do, then stepping back and letting life breathe. It's about noticing when you're trying to force and choosing instead to allow. It's about trusting that what is meant for you will not require you to cling or beg. It will flow naturally. It will come with peace. Letting go doesn't always feel good at first. It can feel vulnerable, unfamiliar. But over time, you begin to crave it. You begin to crave that lightness, that exhale, that moment when the burden lifts, not because someone took it from you, but because you chose to stop carrying what wasn't yours. And from this place, life opens. Doors appear that effort alone couldn't unlock. People show up. Insights arise, not always on your schedule, but always in alignment. This is the gift of sacred surrender, not control, but flow, not certainty, but peace, not force, but freedom. So breathe. Notice what you're holding. Let it soften. Let it speak. Let it move through. You don't have to know what's next. You don't have to make it perfect. You just have to meet this moment with presence and trust that letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of something wiser, deeper, and more whole than anything control could ever create. As you learn the power of sacred surrender, something becomes clear that you may have sensed all along. What's hardest to release isn't always control over the future. It's the parts of yourself you've pushed away, the emotions you avoid, the patterns you hide, the memories you silence. Letting go invites truth, and truth makes space for everything, even what feels uncomfortable. And now, the invitation is deeper. To not just accept the light, but to welcome the dark. To meet the parts of yourself you've called broken, unworthy, too much, or not enough. This is the doorway to shadow presence, and it begins with a simple shift from resistance to curiosity. Every person holds a shadow, not as a flaw, but as a fact of being human. The shadow is not evil or wrong. It's made of what you couldn't safely express, what you didn't know how to feel, what you learned to suppress in order to belong. These aspects of you, anger, shame, fear, insecurity, don't disappear when ignored. They shape your choices in subtle ways. They live in your reactions, in your judgments, in the weight you carry but can't name. Mindfulness allows you to finally turn toward them with clarity and care. To begin this process, you must understand that the shadow does not need to be destroyed. It needs to be seen. The parts of you that feel messy or intense are not working against you. They are holding messages. They're asking to be felt, not fixed. They show up in moments when you feel triggered, overwhelmed, or out of alignment. Instead of reacting or running, shadow presence invites you to pause, to meet the discomfort with awareness instead of avoidance. Start by noticing your emotional edges. What feelings do you try to push away? What parts of yourself do you judge harshly? What traits in others provoke strong reactions in you? These are mirrors. They reflect the parts of your inner world that are still waiting to be acknowledged. The process is not about blame or shame. It's about turning on the light in the room you've kept locked. Befriending the shadow begins in stillness. Sit quietly when a difficult emotion arises. Instead of escaping or distracting, breathe into it. Ask it a simple question. What do you need me to know? Listen without analyzing. This is not about making the emotion smaller. It's about making space for it to exist without overwhelming you. When you hold space for pain without turning away, that pain begins to shift. It loses its sharpness. It reveals what's beneath the surface. Anger, for example, often masks grief or betrayal. Shame can point to a place where you stopped believing you were lovable. Fear might be trying to protect a part of you that was once deeply wounded. These emotions are layered. They are intelligent. When met with mindfulness, they begin to unfold, revealing not just hurt, but healing. Compassion is the foundation of this work. Without it, the shadow becomes something to fight. With it, the shadow becomes something to integrate. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love in pain. Remind yourself that feeling something deeply is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of connection, of being alive. When a part of you rises in distress, whisper inwardly, "I see you, I hear you. You are allowed to be here." This is not a one-time practice. The shadow speaks in cycles. It returns in different forms at different stages, and each time it does, you have the chance to meet it with more awareness. You begin to see the patterns not as flaws, but as invitations. You begin to ask different questions, not, "Why am I like this?" but, "What is this showing me?" Not, "How do I get rid of this?" but, "How can I support this part of me?" The body often carries shadow energy. Tightness in the chest, knots in the stomach, tension in the throat. These are not random. They're expressions of unprocessed emotion. Bringing your attention to these sensations without trying to fix them begins the process of integration. Use your breath to stay present. Place your hands over the area. Offer warmth. Offer acknowledgement. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is sit with your discomfort without trying to make it disappear. Journaling can also be a powerful tool in shadow presence. Not to edit your thoughts, but to express them honestly. Write down what you're afraid to say out loud. Let the words come without filtering. This is not about creating a narrative. It's about releasing pressure, about making the internal visible. Once written, those feelings often soften. What felt like a storm becomes something you can hold. Another practice is dialoguing with the shadow. This means giving voice to the parts of yourself you usually suppress. You can write or speak it aloud. Let the part of you that feels angry or ashamed or afraid say what it needs to say. Don't correct it. Don't rush it. Just let it speak. Then, from your grounded awareness, respond with compassion. This back and forth builds trust. It teaches your inner parts that they are no longer alone. Shadow presence also transforms how you relate to others. When you own your anger, you stop projecting it. When you meet your shame, you stop hiding behind perfection. When you hold your fear, you stop controlling everyone around you. You become more honest, more spacious, more whole. People feel this. Relationships deepen, conflict softens, boundaries become clearer, not from defense, but from alignment. It's important to remember that this work can feel intense. You are not expected to do it all at once. Go slowly, move gently, use support when needed. Sometimes speaking with a trusted friend or guide creates the safety needed to explore the deeper layers. This isn't about suffering, It's about truth. And truth, when met with presence, always leads to freedom. Art, music, and movement can also support shadow integration. These are non-verbal ways of expressing what words can't hold. Dance your anger, paint your grief, sing your fear. Let the energy move through creativity. The shadow responds to expression. It doesn't want to be buried. It wants to be seen, felt, and transformed. Shadow work is not about fixing yourself. It's about making peace with the parts of you you've labeled unacceptable. When you stop running from these parts, you begin to see their gifts. Anger becomes clarity. Shame becomes humility. Fear becomes intuition. Each part, once integrated, strengthens your presence, not because it disappears, but because it no longer controls you from the background. Eventually, you'll begin to notice a different kind of strength emerging. Not the strength of avoidance, but the strength of wholeness. You stop splitting yourself into good and bad, light and dark. You stop measuring your worth by how little you feel. You begin to carry all of you, and that weight becomes light because it's no longer hidden. Shadow presence is one of the most profound paths to spiritual depth. It brings you into honesty, humility, and compassion. It opens the door to real connection, not just with others, but with the full spectrum of your own being. And as you practice it, you realize that peace isn't found in perfection. It's found in integration, in holding the dark with the same love as the light. So let yourself meet what arises. Let yourself feel what you were taught to fear. Let yourself soften where you once tightened. And know that in doing so, you are not breaking. You are coming home. One breath, one truth, one tender encounter at a time. As you begin integrating shadow with compassion and presence, something inside starts to settle. You no longer need to push parts of yourself away or pretend to be only the light. You begin to feel the wholeness that's always been underneath. But spiritual integration doesn't only happen in silence or stillness. It also wants to move through the details of your daily life. The real practice is not just what happens in moments of reflection. It's how you carry that awareness into the ordinary, into the dishes, into your morning shower, into the folding of clothes and the stirring of soup. What comes next is not about adding anything new. It's about seeing differently, living with intention in the places you used to rush through or ignore. This is where ritual meets the mundane. Daily tasks often become mechanical. You do them out of necessity, often while thinking about something else. But what happens when you bring your full attention to these moments, when you treat them as invitations rather than interruptions? This is the practice of ritualizing the mundane, transforming simple actions into portals of mindfulness that reconnect you to yourself, your environment, and something deeper that lives underneath it all. Start by choosing one task you repeat often. It might be washing your hands, making tea, sweeping the floor, or brushing your teeth. Begin with intention. Before starting, pause. Breathe. Set your attention on the task, not to perfect it, but to enter it fully. Let yourself slow down. Bring awareness to your body, to your movements, to the sounds and textures involved. These sensory details become your anchor. As you engage with the task, let go of the need to finish quickly. You're not just completing a chore, you're creating space. Every motion, becomes a rhythm. Every step becomes part of a pattern. This rhythm grounds you. It draws your attention out of the future or the past and brings you fully into the present moment. And in that presence, a new kind of peace begins to emerge. Water-based tasks are powerful for this. Washing dishes, bathing, or watering plants naturally invite presence because of their repetitive and sensory nature. As your hands meet water, bring awareness to the sensation. Let it symbolize a release, a renewal. Each drop becomes a cleansing of your thoughts, a resetting of your energy. You are not just cleaning a surface, you are clearing space inside yourself. Eating is another deeply powerful area for ritual. Often rushed or done while distracted, meals lose their grounding effect. But when approached with presence, eating becomes a spiritual act. Start by pausing before the first bite. Acknowledge the source of your food, the earth, the hands that grew it, the process that brought it to your table. Smell it. Notice its texture. Then chew slowly. Taste fully. Let the process nourish not just your body, but your spirit. The same applies to preparing food. Whether it's chopping vegetables or stirring a pot, use the time to connect to your senses. Let your breath match your movements. Infuse the food with gratitude, not just as an idea, but as a felt presence. You are not just making something to eat, you are creating care. You are practicing love in action. Cleaning can become a practice of energetic clearing. As you wipe surfaces or tidy spaces, allow the physical action to reflect an internal shift. Each movement becomes symbolic. You're not just creating external order, you're inviting inner clarity. Let the task be steady, without rush. As clutter leaves, feel your mind quiet. As dust lifts, feel old tension release. The physical and spiritual are not separate. This practice makes them one. Ritualizing the mundane also means being aware of transitions. Moving from one task to another becomes more than a switch. It becomes a threshold. You can pause between tasks to reset. A single breath can mark the end of one moment and the beginning of the next. This anchors your nervous system. It keeps you from carrying emotional residue into what comes next. Even walking from one room to another can be a mindful practice. Feel your feet on the floor. Let each step be deliberate, not dramatic, just conscious. This small act changes how you show up. You stop rushing unconsciously. You start arriving fully. These micro-rituals bring coherence to your day. Clothing yourself becomes an act of care. As you dress, notice the feel of the fabric. Bless your body as you cover it. Whether you are putting on work clothes or resting clothes, let the act be gentle. Let it reflect your respect for this body that carries you. This quiet acknowledgement builds self-connection in ways louder practices sometimes cannot. You can also ritualize your morning and evening routines. The way you wake up and the way you prepare for sleep shape your energy. Instead of checking your phone first thing, place your hand on your heart. Feel your breath. Set a quiet intention for the day. Let this be your first connection, not to tasks, but to yourself. At night, release the day with the same mindfulness. Brush your teeth with awareness. Lower the lights with intention. Let your body know it is safe to rest. These daily rituals don't require spiritual language. They only require attention. They bring you into relationship with life as it unfolds. They shift you from reacting to participating, from numbing to feeling, from resisting to receiving. You're not escaping reality, you're honoring it more deeply. Ritualizing the mundane is especially powerful during times of emotional weight. When everything feels heavy or uncertain, these small practices ground you. They offer structure without pressure. They bring the sacred into reach when your mind feels far away from clarity. A single mindful breath while folding laundry can anchor you. A pause at the sink can open a space where calm returns. This practice is also a way to express reverence. You stop treating time as something to fill or conquer. You begin treating time as something to walk with. Even 5 minutes of mindfulness during a task infuses your day with deeper quality. You begin to feel your life again, not just think about it. If you live with others, these rituals affect your shared space. A home infused with presence feels different, softer, warmer, more alive. You don't have to say anything for others to feel it. Presence speaks without words. Your calm invites calm in others. Your rhythm settles the atmosphere. You become a quiet center in the space you inhabit. There may be resistance at first, a voice that says, "This is silly," or "This doesn't matter." That voice is part of the conditioning that says meaning only comes from doing something big. But mindfulness teaches you that depth comes from attention, not achievement. These practices matter precisely because they are ordinary. They remind you that you don't have to escape life to touch the sacred. You only have to slow down enough to see what's already here. Over time, these micro-rituals become part of your nervous system. You start to notice when you're rushing or disconnecting. You catch yourself mid-task and come back to breath. This noticing is the practice. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to return again and again with gentleness. Even how you speak can become a ritual. Choose words with care. Let your tone reflect your heart. Speak slowly. Listen fully. This isn't about scripting your life. It's about being present for it. About honoring the energy you bring into each moment. That energy shapes what comes next. There is no hierarchy in mindfulness. Washing your hands with awareness can be just as transformative as formal meditation. It's not about the setting, it's about the quality of your presence. And the more you live this way, the more resilient you become. You stop waiting for peace. You start creating it. So let your day become a string of quiet rituals. Let your breath lead. Let your body soften. Let each ordinary moment remind you that you're alive, connected, and whole. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're present. And presence, even in the smallest task, is what brings you home, again and again, without effort, without needing anything more than this moment, exactly as it is. As you begin to infuse presence into daily routines, something unexpected starts to unfold. Life no longer feels divided between the spiritual and the ordinary. Every gesture becomes an offering, each task a moment of reconnection. But even with this grounded awareness, you may start to sense there are larger forces influencing your energy, patterns that stretch beyond your schedule, beyond your habits, beyond your control. You feel different on certain days. Your clarity shifts. Emotions rise without warning. These are not random. They are reflections of a deeper rhythm moving through you, one that lives in the sky, in cycles older than memory. This is where celestial mindfulness begins. Celestial mindfulness is the practice of aligning your inner awareness with the movements of the moon, the planets, and the cosmic patterns that shape the energetic environment around you. Just as your body responds to the seasons or the time of day, it also responds to the rhythm of the cosmos. This isn't about prediction or superstition. It's about attunement. Noticing how your energy expands and contracts in response to lunar phases, planetary shifts, and solar transitions. The more aware you become of these rhythms, the more harmoniously you can move through change. The moon is the most accessible gateway into this awareness. Its cycle, which repeats approximately every 29.5 days, mirrors a full energetic arc from initiation to release, from emergence to integration. Each phase carries a distinct invitation, not just symbolically, but energetically. The body, mind, and spirit subtly respond to this shifting light. When you tune into this rhythm, you're not creating something new, you're remembering something ancient that your system already knows. The new moon marks the beginning. It's a time of emptiness, quiet, and potential. The sky is dark, inviting you inward. Energy is lower, more reflective. This is a powerful time for setting intentions, not declarations of ambition, but quiet alignments. Ask yourself what wants to grow, what needs space, what you're ready to feel more deeply. Meditate with softness. Journal without pressure. Let your inner landscape be a quiet garden in which new seeds are planted, unseen but already shifting. As the moon begins to wax, light slowly returns, energy rises. This is the time to take gentle action, to begin shaping your intention into motion. You may feel more motivated, more outwardly focused. This isn't about rushing or pushing, it's about aligning your actions with natural expansion. Notice what ideas keep returning. Notice what feels alive when you speak it aloud. This phase supports growth, but it also requires clarity. Stay connected to your original intention. Let each step you take be rooted in presence. The first quarter moon arrives halfway to full. This is often a time of resistance or challenge. The initial momentum meets reality. Obstacles may surface, not as signs to stop, but as tests of alignment. Use this phase to reflect on what adjustments are needed. Where do you feel off? What's out of balance? This is a powerful time for self-honesty, not from judgment, but from refinement. Return to your breath. Recommit to what matters. Let the tension guide you, not defeat you. As the full moon rises, energy peaks. Light is at its brightest. Emotion is amplified. This is not always easeful, but it is illuminating. What has come to fullness in your life? What has been revealed? What have you outgrown? This is a time for gratitude and release. Celebrate what you've created and let go of what you no longer need. A simple ritual, writing, movement, or meditation can help anchor this process. The full moon is not about perfection. It's about visibility. Let it show you what's been hidden. After the full moon, the waning phase begins. Energy softens again. This is a time for reflection, integration, and release. Let yourself rest more. Clear what feels heavy. Revisit your intention, not to analyze, but to notice what's changed. What have you learned? What no longer fits? This is a powerful time for spiritual cleansing. Practices like breathwork, journaling, or gentle movement can help you empty the inner space that's been filled. This is not a retreat, it's a return. As the moon wanes further, it enters the final crescent, the balsamic phase. This is the most inward part of the cycle, a time for surrender, stillness, and quiet. The energy is subtle, intuitive, and soft. Let yourself pause, reconnect with silence, rest without guilt. This is the phase of closing, of honoring what has passed. Trust that nothing is lost. Everything that has moved through you is part of your growth. Let your body and spirit prepare for the next beginning. This lunar rhythm offers a framework for emotional and energetic awareness. When you live in sync with it, you stop resisting your own cycles. You stop expecting constant growth. You begin to understand that stillness, release, and uncertainty are just as sacred as clarity and movement. Your expectations soften. Your inner dialogue becomes more compassionate. Beyond the moon, planetary shifts also affect your energy. The outer planets move slowly, shaping collective themes. The inner planets move quickly, influencing more personal experiences. Mercury, Venus, and Mars reflect communication, emotion, and motivation. Their retrogrades often bring a need to slow down, reflect, or realign. These are not cosmic punishments. They are invitations to pause and recalibrate. Mercury retrograde, for example, often brings disruption in communication and technology, but beneath the surface, it asks for review. What have you been saying without meaning? What truths have been avoided? This is a time for listening more than speaking. Journaling becomes a tool for clarity. Reflection becomes more fruitful than action. When approached with mindfulness, these periods are not chaotic. They are cleansing. Venus retrograde draws attention to your values and relationships. It often stirs old feelings or unresolved dynamics, but it also offers insight. What are you truly longing for? What have you been compromising? This is a time to realign your relationship with self-love. Let the discomfort guide you toward truth. Let your heart speak without interruption. Mars retrograde influences drive and direction. Energy may feel scattered or dull. This is not failure, it's feedback. What motivates you? What are you pursuing out of habit instead of meaning? This is a time to step back and reassess. Allow yourself to explore different rhythms. Let the body rest. Let the mind breathe. Even the sun's movement through the zodiac brings shifts. Each sign carries a different flavor of energy. Aries brings renewal. Taurus brings grounding. Gemini brings curiosity. Cancer brings emotion. Each month becomes an opportunity to explore a different aspect of your inner world. Not to force alignment with astrology, but to use it as a mirror, a prompt, a way of seeing more clearly. Celestial mindfulness also honors the seasons. The solstices and equinoxes mark thresholds, beginnings, endings, balance points. These are natural moments to reset intention, to reflect on what has passed and what is coming. They connect you to the turning of the earth, to cycles of light and shadow. Rituals during these times deepen your sense of rhythm. They root you in something older than thought. To live with celestial awareness does not mean you become passive. It means you become attuned. You still choose, act, and create. But you do so with greater sensitivity. You know when to pause. You know when to push. You trust your timing, not because you always understand it, but because you feel it in your body. You stop moving against yourself. You start listening to something deeper. This practice deepens your sense of belonging, not just to people or places, but to the cosmos itself. You are not separate from the moon's pull or the sun's warmth. Your body is made of the same elements that move through stars. You are part of the rhythm, and when you begin to live in sync with it, life feels less like something to manage and more like something to dance with. Start simply. Track the moon. Notice how you feel during each phase. Journal without expectation. Sit under the night sky. Let silence do the work. You don't need to understand every aspect. You only need to be open. Let the rhythm guide you. Let the sky remind you that presence doesn't end with the earth. It stretches far beyond, and yet always circles back home. As you begin to align with celestial rhythms, you may notice that life feels more spacious. You're no longer rushing to match a false pace. Instead, you're moving with something ancient and wise. You're learning how to trust the invisible patterns that hold you. But even as you grow more connected to nature, to the moon, to planetary movement, there are moments when you need to go inward, when no external setting, no phase or season can fully meet the need for stillness. What you're being called toward now is an inner space, one untouched by the outer world, a place that always waits, quietly, for your return. The inner temple is not a metaphor. It's a felt experience of sanctuary created through attention and presence. It's a space that exists beyond time and form, built entirely within your consciousness. This isn't imagination for the sake of escape. It's intentional inner architecture, a refuge crafted from energy, shaped by your soul, sustained by your awareness. It's where your spirit meets itself without needing explanation or effort. This space is created through visualization, but it's grounded in mindfulness. You begin not by trying to build something perfect, but by getting quiet enough to listen to what wants to appear. Find a moment where you can close your eyes without distraction. Breathe slowly. Let your awareness drop beneath thought. From that stillness, begin to allow an inner place to form, not with pressure or design, but with curiosity. It may begin with a sense of color or light, a doorway, a path, a feeling. Let it unfold gradually. There's no rush. Your only task is to observe what rises. This is your sacred space, and it will be shaped by your energy, your intuition, your unique spiritual memory. There is no right form. For some, it may be a quiet room filled with soft light. For others, a forest clearing or mountain top. What matters is that it feels safe, familiar, and grounding. Once you sense the place, begin to explore it. Notice what surrounds you. Notice the textures, the colors, the atmosphere. How does it feel to be here? Let that feeling grow. Let it settle into your breath. Let it inform your posture, your heartbeat, your presence. This is the beginning of creating a place you can return to daily, a sanctuary that lives inside you, available in moments of overwhelm, grief, joy, or stillness. The more often you visit this space, the more vivid it becomes. With time, it responds to your needs. It shifts and expands. It holds different qualities depending on what your spirit requires. It becomes a living reflection of your inner world, a space where you are not performing or proving, but simply existing in presence. You may wish to place symbolic elements in this space: objects, altars, natural elements, or ancestral symbols. Let these arise naturally. Each object or structure you place carries meaning. It holds energy. It supports the vibration of your sanctuary. Trust what appears. You're not decorating. You're remembering. You're constructing a bridge between form and formlessness. This temple becomes a place of communion. You can enter it to reflect, to breathe, to receive guidance. You may begin to notice that when you sit in this space, insights arrive that feel different than ordinary thought. There's a clarity here, a sense of truth, not shaped by logic, but by alignment. You're not looking for answers. You're opening to wisdom. The inner temple is also a place for healing. When emotion rises that feels too much to carry, bring it here. Let it sit beside you. Let the energy of your space hold it. You don't need to fix the emotion. You only need to create a container where it can move without harm. This is how pain transforms, not through resistance, but through held attention. If fear arises, you can meet it here with compassion. Invite it to speak. Ask it what it needs. Listen without trying to silence it. The temple gives you the safety to feel fully. When held in this way, fear often dissolves or shifts. It loses its charge because it's no longer isolated. It has been acknowledged, seen, and integrated. You may also use this space to reconnect with aspects of yourself that feel distant. Inner child, inner guide, higher self, or any part of your being that holds wisdom. Visualize sitting with them in this space. Let the conversation unfold naturally. Let them speak not as fantasy, but as access to deeper layers of your own awareness. You're not inventing these aspects. You're creating room for them to express themselves clearly. For some, the inner temple becomes a place of spiritual connection. You may sense the presence of ancestors, guides, or a divine intelligence. There's no need to seek this out. If it comes, allow it. If it doesn't, that's equally sacred. The purpose of this space is not to summon visions. It's to return to the stillness within you that remembers who you are beyond role, story, and noise. Use the inner temple as a part of your daily rhythm. Even 2 or 3 minutes of sitting in this space can shift your energy. Before a challenging conversation, return here. After a difficult day, return here. When you wake feeling scattered or anxious, return here. With practice, it becomes easier to enter. It begins to live within you not as something separate, but as a familiar vibration just beneath the surface. This space is also helpful during transitions. When facing a decision, pause in your temple. Don't ask for the answer. Ask to reconnect with your clarity. Often, the body responds differently in this space. You feel whether something expands or contracts you. You feel whether something leads you closer to peace or further from it. That feeling is your compass. You can also infuse your physical life with the energy of this space. Before bed, bring the calm of the inner temple into your body. Let your breath carry it into your cells. Before stepping into a stressful environment, surround yourself with the energy of this space. It's not escapism, it's embodiment. You're not leaving the world. You're bringing your presence more fully into it. In moments of disconnection, trauma, or fatigue, returning to this temple can restore your sense of center. It may not solve the outer issue, but it realigns your inner posture. It reminds you that there is a place within you untouched by chaos, a space of calm, of knowing, of presence. Over time, the boundary between this space and your daily awareness dissolves. You no longer need to close your eyes to feel it. You begin to carry its vibration into your walk, your words, your touch. Life becomes the extension of your inner sanctuary. The sacred is no longer something you visit. It becomes the way you live. You don't need special skills to do this work. You don't need to visualize vividly or create a detailed image. You only need intention, attention, and trust. Whatever appears, however subtle, is enough. This is not about achieving a certain experience. It's about cultivating a space where your soul feels welcome. And when life feels heavy, when the outer world feels too much, when your thoughts feel scattered, know that your inner temple waits, always, without judgment, without noise, without need, just presence, just space, just the quiet knowing that no matter what changes outside, this inner sanctuary is yours. Constant, alive, whole. After over 3 hours of exploring deep spiritual mindfulness, you've returned to yourself again and again with breath, with presence, with truth. You've moved through stillness and sound, through moonlight and memory, through shadow and surrender. You've learned how to hear with your whole being, how to walk with intention, how to find the sacred in silence and in soap suds. You've connected with the cosmos above and the ancestral roots below. And through every moment, you've practiced one powerful thing: remembering. Not remembering facts or philosophies, but remembering your wholeness, the still center within you that never left, the quiet strength that doesn't come from control, but from connection. And now, as this journey settles into your bones, you have something even more valuable than insight. You have tools. Real, embodied, soul-rooted practices to carry with you into every breath, every pause, every ordinary sacred day. Now, it's your turn to speak. In the comments, share which practice opened your heart, softened your mind, or simply stayed with you. Was it the breath between thoughts, the moon's rhythm, the silence, the shadow? Your words may be the medicine someone else needs right now, so don't hold back. This space is for reflection, and your voice belongs here. And if this journey meant something to you, if it grounded you, lifted you, or helped you remember who you are, subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to explore together. Let's keep building this inner sanctuary, one mindful step at a time. Until next time, stay present, stay rooted, and return often. You are your own sacred space.